Dear listeners, thank you for your incredible support in helping our channel grow. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers, so please support us by subscribing and helping us reach this milestone. Now let's start the story. Flashback, Jack. Last day of week 4 of Spook School. Goddamn, where the hell has Ben? He's been completely AWOL for the last 2 days. The only good thing is that, because of all the trouble he's caused, no one has asked where he was. But today is our last day of week 4. Spook School was only supposed to be 2 weeks long, but Ben loved the classes so much he talked them into letting us stay 2 more weeks for advanced study. But he had to promise to behave. He mostly behaved unless someone gave him shit. Then he kicked their butts. He also continued to refuse to wear the school uniforms. He only wore his Marine gear, which was probably for the best because everyone learned to run when they saw him coming. Mira had to leave right before the end of week 2. I suppose I should tell everyone what happened the night we all ran into Ben's hospital room. Flashback 2 weeks earlier, Jack, Ben's hospital room. We heard a hell of a noise. Ran into Ben's room to find Mira and Ira having it out with each other. Unwisely, Ben tried to stop it, and Ira, or maybe it was Mira, cold-cocked him, and he went out like a light. Then Mira jumped on top of Ira, cold-cocked her, and started to try to wake Ben. I looked at Major M and asked, "Sir, what would you like me to do?" He was just starting to answer me when his phone rang. He looked at it and said, "Shit, I need to answer this right now. Sergeant, just make sure that if Ms. Sedankina wakes up, they don't start fighting again." I looked at him in disbelief. How in the hell was I supposed to accomplish that? Flashback 2 weeks earlier, Major M, Ben's hospital room. I received a call and quickly recognized it was from my emergency number. I wonder what the hell is wrong now. I walked to the side of the room, took the call, and grimaced. This wasn't going to be easy and could end up being hard as hell. I looked over, and at least one of the Sedankina twins was still unconscious. I walked over just as the Lance Corporal revived and announced, "Miss Sedankina, we are thankful what your sister did to rescue the Lance Corporal, however." She glared at me and declared, "Malodorous Major M, from you there are never acceptable howevers." I continued, "However, the FBI is headed this way as we speak and plan on taking you and your sister into custody." She jumped off the bed and announced, "Then I will terminate all of them because I'm not leaving my boyfriend." I was afraid that was the response I would get. I slipped the taser from behind my back and fired. Miss Sedankina hit the floor like a feather. Then the Lance Corporal yelled, "What the hell did you do that for?" I commanded, "Lance Corporal, who the hell told you that you could speak to me in that manner? Listen, if you don't want both of them to spend the rest of their lives in prison, we need to get them out of the country ASAP. Now shut up." I looked at the Lance Corporal's bodyguards and ordered, "Restrain the Sedankina twins and get them the hell to the basement. There's a van waiting to take them to a private airport." The sergeant added, "If I were you, I'd double restrain them because if they get loose, they will kill both of you." The scumsuckers ignored me and looked toward the Lance Corporal. "Ben, what would you like us to do?" I glared at them and then at the Lance Corporal, but he wisely advised, "Get them the hell out of here. And Jack, will you go with them to make sure they are both taken care of?" Sergeant Reynolds said, "I'm not sure that's such a good idea." I scratched my chin thoughtfully and ordered, "Well, Sergeant, it sounds like an excellent idea to me. Now the 3 of you need to move your butts." The sergeant showed a spark of intelligence when he commented, "If we go hauling them out of here over our shoulders, we're going to attract a hell of a lot of attention. Let's double restrain them and transport them using the gurney." They restrained and gagged the Sedankina twins, then loaded them on the gurney and took off. I looked at the Lance Corporal, who'd been remarkably quiet during all of this, sat down in a chair by the bed and stated, "We need to have a long talk." Flashback 2 weeks earlier, Jack, Myra's and Ira's exfiltration. I thought we had it made when we hit the hallway with the twins on the gurney and started heading toward the elevators. That was until we reached the elevators. The doors opened, and it was crawling with Phoebes. They all blew past us as I again thought we had it made until one of the scumsuckers turned and yelled, "Stop those men getting on the elevator." I looked at Frick and Frack and ordered, "You two need to buy me some time." I flew out of the elevator with the gurney as Frick and Frack ran towards the Phoebes. I rounded a corner and heard what sounded like big fight behind me. Now where the hell were those other elevators, and what the hell am I going to do if there are agents there? Have you ever noticed that hospitals all seem to be designed by morons? At least all the ones I have been in fit that description. I ran down hallways, turning left and right until I was thoroughly lost. A nurse was coming by, so I asked her, "Excuse me, can you tell me where the elevators are?" She directed me back to the ones I just left, and I explained, "Excuse me, miss, but I don't think you want me taking these bodies down the patient elevator. I need the freight elevator." She gave me the directions, then stared at me and said, "I don't really recognize you. Where's your security badge?" At just that time, one of the twins woke up and began to squirm and make noise. I flipped off the nurse and declared, "That's my badge." Then I took off, pushing the gurney toward the freight elevators. The nurse began screaming bloody murder. Now I wish I had taken a page out of Myra's book and decked her. As I found the elevators and pushed the button, I was surprised when the door opened immediately. I was real pleased there were no agents inside. I rolled the gurney inside, pressed the button for the basement parking, and yelled at the squirming twin, "Listen, Mira, or Ira, you need to calm down so I can get you out of the building." Well, that didn't work because she just started squirming more, and I worried she was going to tip the damn gurney over. I pulled back the blanket, but then I wished I hadn't because the look the twin gave me made my blood run cold. Even until this day, I have never seen such a look of hate on a face. If she ever got loose, I would be a dead man. I looked at her and asked, "Mira?" She shook her head. I immediately panicked. Screw me, it's Ira. And if Myra's bad, and Ira almost always kicked Myra's butt, then Ira must be one scary out-of-control bitch. I chose my words carefully. "Ira, sorry about this. But the FBI was coming to take you and your sister Mira into custody, and it's my job to make sure you two get to the basement and out of the country." Then I continued with a lie. "It wasn't my decision to restrain you. It was the major's." She calmed down, nodded her head, and moved her hands. I understood she wanted released. Now I had a big problem. If I released her, she could kick my butt. But if I left her restrained, then she'd get pissed at me. So I decided on an intermediate step and just removed the gag from her mouth. Flashback 2 weeks earlier. Ira, Myra's and Ira's exfiltration. Once I perceived the reason for my current restrained state, my mind commenced to function, and I surmised this was apropos for my requirements. Once again, fortune had smiled upon me, and I was handed the opportunity with which to extract my sister from her relationship with her lance corporal. However, the situation required that I be liberated from my bonds, therefore I motioned my desire with my hands. I was not certain Sergeant Reynolds possessed the required intelligence to understand my movements because he only removed the gag from my mouth. So I stated, "Sergeant, what circumstance has rendered my sister incapacitated, and please release me from my restraints, post haste." Hay gave me a panicked look and replied, "Ira, the major tossed Mira, and I had nothing to do with it." I inwardly smiled. Myra's reports had mentioned some conflict with the sergeant, and I perceived by his attitude and response that the conflicts were more severe in nature than Mira had reported. I had now ascertained the sergeant was concerned for his personal safety if he released me. I reassured him, "Sergeant, I perceive you are concerned that I will inflict pain upon your corporeal person. However, you fail to realize I am in complete support of the plan to exfiltrate America. Please release me post haste." He gave me a worried look and replied, "Ira, I'm not sure that is such a good idea." I raised my voice and terminated his timidity. "Sergeant Reynolds, release me post haste, or the lessons my sister performed on you will be minuscule compared to the pain I will inflict upon your corporeal body." Flashback 2 weeks earlier. Jack, Myra's and Ira's exfiltration. Damn it all. Why do women have to be so difficult? Ira is demanding to be released, and if I don't, she's going to hurt me even worse than was done by Mira. I paused after her last threat. Ira moved her hands again, and screw me. There was that cold-blooded killer's look again. Then a wicked-as-hell smile crossed her face as she said, "Sergeant Reynolds, if you do not honor my request for release post-haste, I promise I will amputate your training tool and enlarge the collection on my trophy wall. I damned if I do and dead if I don't." So I pulled my knife, cut her restraints, and loosened the straps. She lightly jumped off the table and surprised the hell out of me when she grabbed me, gave me a hell of a kiss, squeezed my crotch, gave me that wicked smile again, and promised, "Sergeant Reynolds, if you value your training tool, never disobey me again. Now, supply me with your weapon." When I handed her my knife, she looked at with incredulity and said, "You do not have any firearms?" I replied, "Nope, I didn't think I would need any. Besides, there were Frick and Frack, and they were armed." She stared at me and questioned, "Just where are Mr. Frick and Mr. Frack so I might obtain a firearm?" I forced myself to not even smile about her comment and answered, "They took care of the FBI agents upstairs." She turned away and muttered something under her breath. We were almost to the basement with only one more floor to go when the elevator door opened, and there stood a FBI agent. Like a flash, Ira was on him. Before he could even move, she pounded the hell out of his head with the bolster of my knife. I was thankful she didn't use the sharp end, or he would have been mincemeat. She then calmly reached inside his jacket, pulled out an Uzi, performed a function check, and ordered, "Now we may continue to the basement." I pressed the button for the basement, but nothing happened. Then Ira swore, "Those traitors have disabled basement access from the elevators. Sergeant Reynolds, carry my sister and follow me to the stairs," she ordered. I carefully lifted Mira over my shoulder and followed Ira, who was now armed and moving expertly through the corridors. I focused on keeping pace, staying alert as we advanced. Ira turned briefly and scolded, "Sergeant Reynolds, pay attention to the task at hand. I know you're only a Marine, but try to mimic my moves and stay quiet. I gave a quick nod and did my best to follow her lead. As we rounded a corner, Ira suddenly raised her weapon and fired. Sergeant Reynolds, retreat, now? She barked. I quickly turned and ran as more gunfire erupted behind us. Ira grabbed my arm, pulled me into a janitor's closet, and pressed her ear against the door, listening intently. Then she hurried to a set of cabinets, yanked out a pile of supplies, and began mixing them together. I stepped closer and asked, "What are you making?" Without slowing down, she replied, "I'm creating a diversion." She put the ingredients in a big jar, put some powder in a cloth, put the cloth across the top of the jar, and carefully put the lid on the jar. She gently carried the jar like it was a baby to the door, listened again, then smiled, opened the door, and heaved the jar into the hallway. There was a moderate explosion with enough flash that it lit up the janitor's closet. The fire alarm and the sprinklers went off. The water finally woke Mira, and she began to struggle. Ira came over, looked in Myra's eyes, and said something in a strange language, and then knocked her butt out again. Ira looked at me and ordered, "Sergeant Reynolds, be very careful conveying my sister, as the hallways will be treacherously slick." I was shocked when Ira opened the door. The moderate explosion ripped the hell out of things. There were shards of glass embedded everywhere in the walls. We took off up a different hallway. Ira finally found the stairwell. We entered and headed to the basement. When we hit the basement, Frick and Frack were there along with Major M's other men and had secured the area. Since Ira didn't know who Frick and Frack were, she raised the Uzi, they raised their weapons, and I yelled, "Everyone stand down." Ira, these men are Frick and Frack. Amazingly, everyone listened. Frick and Frack ran up and Frack said, "Hey, who let one of the bitches go?" "Well, there's a fool born every minute, and this was Frack's minute." Ira didn't just tear him a new a-hole. You might say she really fracked him up. Then it was Frick's minute. He said, "You 304, I'm going to..." He never finished because Ira fricked him a new one. Major M's men came over after they witnessed Ira, the one-woman man-wrecking crew, and the lights said, "Excuse me, miss, but we are here to make sure you and your sister get safely out of the country. Now if you will please follow me." I said, "Sir, you might want to have someone grab those two." He nodded to his men and said, "Yeah, I suppose we need to bring them." We hightailed it to the van, hopped inside, and the driver sped away, imitating Mario Andretti. Ira started taking care of Mira, and partway to the airport she woke up and I thought it was going to be a big fight, but it only ended up being a verbal fight, in a language I couldn't understand, because Ira wisely left Mira restrained. I was busy taking care of Frick and Frack since they both had a beating they wouldn't forget for a long time. It felt good to see that the twins were equal opportunity butt kickers because I was tired as hell of having my butt kicked by one of them. Just as I thought things were over I heard, "Sergeant Reynolds, please locate your corporeal self adjacent to me." I went over and asked, "What can I do for you, Mira?" She frantically pleaded, "Sergeant Reynolds, please inform my Lance Corporal of my unterminating devotion to him and elucidate to him the circumstances under which we had to vacate America." I thought to myself that this is just more bullshit. Like I'm going to tell Ben any of this. But I decided to lie. I will make sure he knows Mira. Then she asked for one more favor, "Sergeant Reynolds, I am also concerned about all the equipment I left in my domicile. Ira will transfer to you an address if you would arrange for all of it to be transported to my future location. For this unwelcome task you would affect my unterminating gratitude." I looked at Frick and Frack and promised, "Mira, all of it will be moved today." Mira calmed down, and as I looked at her I for once felt sorry. She was a hell of a woman that got tangled up with Ben at precisely the wrong time for both of them. Ira gave me the address. I went back by Frick and Frack and made sure they had their assignment and reiterated that Mira was just as bad as Ira about kicking butts for real or imagined sins. That got their attention and they promised to make sure all the equipment was moved. We made it to the airport, the twins were loaded on a plane and it took off. We were just getting ready to leave when we were surrounded by FBI vehicles. I kicked back and thought, I will let the light handle this one. After all, that's about all a light is good for. Flashback, Jack. Last day of week 4 of Spook School. So that was what happened the night Ben was rescued by Ira from the spooks, and how we got the twins safely out of the country. Ben asked if Mira said anything before she left, and I decided it was better to let sleeping dogs lay, so I lied and told him she didn't say anything. He looked hurt and suddenly developed a pissy as hell attitude. Shit, if he had a chip on his shoulder before, he had a log on it now. Things were really shaken up at the spook school. The commandant and all the instructors disappeared, and we had replacements which were much better than the old scumsuckers. And Mr. Smith also seemed to fade away, other than the occasional report where he would try to rip us a new a-hole. The only purpose the reports served were to further piss off Ben. The one thing Ben did like was the classes. He was totally different in class, respectful and inquisitive. and he spent all his free time at night studying instead of socializing. What really clicked with him were the classes on tactics and techniques of other countries. He ate that shit up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it was just about all he talked about. So without Ben's and Myra's shenanigans, the last 2 weeks have been boring. And now he's been gone for 2 days. The interesting thing is that no one has bothered to look for him or ask where he was. Flashback, Ben, last day of week 4 of Spook School. School had totally changed. Oh, the martial arts, rifle range and pistol range were the same boring shit I'd done a million times. The only decent parts were the classes, and they were interesting as hell. Shit, I even put up with 2 more weeks of this vacation they tried to pass off as training just so I could study more. Jack thought all I'd been doing at night was studying, but I'd been doing a hell of a lot more than that. I now had a plan to get more control over our situation, especially since Jack sold us down the river in our meeting with General Donaldson. I had been gone doing something for 2 days. When I walked into our room, Jack looked at me and demanded, "Where the hell have you been?" I grinned at him and replied, "Hello to you too. I've been busy." I could tell he was pissed and wanted to do something about it, but he knew I'd just kick his butt again. I started packing my gear, changing into my Service A's base uniform, and told Jack, "You might want to start packing and change." He gave me a funny look and complained, "We don't leave until tomorrow." I snapped, "Okay, suit yourself." I finished packing and dressing, got all my paperwork in order just as Jack's phone rang. He answered it, but I ignored it since I already knew what it was going to be about. Jack hung up the phone and I said, "I told you. You should pack and change." Jack answered, "That was the old man's adjunct. He wants to see us in his office right away. I wonder what the hell he wants. I hope he's not pissed at what you've been doing here." I laughed and said, "Jack, you really think this school would admit to the beating I've given it the last few weeks? No way. They're too embarrassed and just hoping we don't spread the word." Jack challenged, "All right, Mr. Know-It-All, what exactly does the old man want?" I made sure the door was locked before answering. It seems Mr. Smith was taken out by what they believe to be a foreign agent using distinct, non-domestic methods. The old man wants to see us to introduce a new handler, Major M. Jack's mouth dropped open, and he said, "Shit, Ben, don't tell me you killed him. Didn't he even have a family?" I smiled without humor. "Okay, Jack, I won't tell you that. Yes, he did have a family, and he also had a huge insurance policy. He was a scumsucker at home, so believe me, his family's better without him. Shit, his wife didn't even cry when she found out. You'd better get packing. We don't want to be late." Flashback, Jack, last day of week 4 of Spook School. Son of a bitch. Ben strolled in here, like nothing happened, told me to pack and change, told me the old man wanted to see us, which he did, and in a roundabout way insinuated he took out Mr. Smith. I thought Ben really screwed up and there was going to be hell to pay when we saw the old man. But I had other things to worry about. I needed to pack and change. I looked at my Service A's and they were a mess. Ben was sitting in a chair grinning at me. Then he offered, "Jack, pack your gear and I will touch up your Service A's." I wondered if knocking off Mr. Smith, who had it coming, put Ben back into his usual good and semi-helpful mood, or perhaps it was finally leaving this joke of a school. I guess it didn't matter because he was his normal self. Finally, I tossed my gear into the footlockers because I knew there wouldn't be an inspection, ran into the shower, took a quick one, came out and saw Ben had my Service A's looking great and was finishing with my footlockers. He complained, "Jack, if you would just learn the Marine way, you wouldn't have such a mess all the time." I fired back, "Oh yeah, well, who taught you the Marine way?" Ben countered, "You did, and then I think you forgot everything you taught me." He stood up tall and straight, looked me square in the eyes and declared, "Jack, I'm sure as hell not going through the same fiasco as the last time we met the old man. So this time you're going to keep your mouth shut and let me do all the talking." I started to complain, but he cut me off. "Jack, I mean it. Yeah, you think you fixed things and kept the old man from sending our butts to God nowhere, but you also negotiated from what you perceive to be a position of weakness. I have worked my butt off to rectify that bullshit, and I'm not going to let you screw it up. If you don't like it, then I'll kick your butt and get myself a new spotter. So keep your mouth shut and let me handle things." Fine. If Ben thinks he can handle the mess he's created, then he can try to fix it. And when we end up in some godforsaken shithole freezing our butts off, I will remind him of it. Every day. Flashback, Major M, General Donaldson's office. Damn, the general is playing one of his games again. He had his adjunct call me to immediately report to his office. I arrived and his adjunct escorted me to the conference room, and now I'd been waiting for an hour. The door opened, and in walked Lance Corporal Blaine. He carried a folder under his arm, and Sergeant Reynolds. Now I was really concerned about what was happening. I'd done a few things that if the general found out about them, wouldn't be at all good for me. They sat down, the Lance Corporal slipped the folder under his chair, and the general walked in, also carrying a folder, as we all snapped to attention. General Donaldson said, as you were, and take a seat. He opened his folder, looked at some reports, and said, well, Sergeant and Lance Corporal, it seems me sending you two off to the spy school did some good for both of you. The first reports I received from Mr. Smith described how disrespectful you two were, but the final report praised the school for molding both of you into model students. I was especially surprised when you, Lance Corporal Blaine, requested a longer stay. How would you assess your time at the school? I was worried, but then Lance Corporal Blaine lied through his teeth. Sir, it was an honor and a privilege to have this opportunity to expand our usefulness to the Corps. The general looked at Sergeant Reynolds and asked, and how do you assess the situation, Sergeant? He smiled and said, sir, I totally concur with Lance Corporal Blaine's assessment. The general closed the folder, stared at us, and said, well, we have a problem. It seems that a foreign agent killed your handler, Mr. Smith. I noticed an almost imperceptible smile cross the L.CPL's face. So now what should we do with the two of you? I asked, sir. Permission to speak? He looked at me, smiled, and said, Major, there's no need to ask me. I've already decided that these two would be best allocated to the two-man squads you've been bothering me about. Their skills, especially now that they've proven they can follow orders, are exactly what you've been hammering me for. So Major, these two are yours. Just make sure you keep them on a short leash. Now I'm a busy man, and we'll leave you three to work out the details. We came to attention as he stood, and then he left. When the Lance Corporal started to speak, I held my finger over my lips, pulled a scanner out of my briefcase and scanned the room for bugs, and was surprised when it turned out clean. I ordered, take a seat, you two. I need to make a phone call. I made my call, came back to the table, sat down and stated, well, Lance Corporal, that was almost nice work taking care of Mr. Smith, but you left a little trail back to you with the insurance policy. But don't worry, we will fix that for you. He gave me a shit-eating grin and asked, permission to speak freely, sir? I waved my hand, permission granted. He said, sir, I left that trail on purpose for you to find. If I so wanted, you would never have known about this. Stuff like this happens to anyone who messes with us. I angrily demanded, Lance Corporal, was that a threat? He gave me that grin again and answered, no, sir. That was just a fact. Mr. Smith had continually messed with us, and he paid the price. Yeah, it was a threat, but that was okay since at least we were on the same team. The Lance Corporal didn't know it. By taking out Mr. Smith, he solved the huge problem of trying to pry the two of them away from his clutches. I looked at the two of them and started, okay, for your first assignment. The Lance Corporal interrupted, excuse me, sir, but until we come to some agreement on the terms of our relationship, there will be no first assignment. I became angry. Lance Corporal, just what the hell do you mean? He gave me that grin again, slid the folder over to me, and said, sir, please read this. Then we will discuss the terms of how Jack and I work for you. I was ready to explode, but I really needed these two, especially for the next mission I had in mind. I opened the folder and couldn't believe what I saw. Inside were Mr. Smith's real reports along with the doctored reports I had submitted. I kept turning the pages and about shit my pants. There were classified files which he never should have had access to. Enough files to, well, end my military career and possibly land me in the brig for a very long time. I looked at the Lance Corporal and stated, I know of one way to permanently eliminate this problem. He gave me the grin again and said, now that was certainly a threat, and you should know all about threats. Several of my friends, who you don't know, have sealed copies of this folder. If I happen to mysteriously disappear, then this folder will find its way into the proper hands. Son of a bitch. I hated being outgunned. I glared at the Lance Corporal and said, this is bullshit. He replied, no, sir. What's bullshit is not being able to trust the officers above me. Jack and I are tired of being bent over, and it's not going to happen anymore. Now my terms are really very simple and are only things that should have already happened. Would you like to hear them? I tapped the table and thought. The Lance Corporal was right since he and the sergeant had really been shit on by the Corps, something that I didn't plan on doing. And I needed him not only for this mission, but also for one that I'd been planning for years. I started the negotiations. I agree that in the past you and the sergeant have not received the support you've needed. And as I've told you before, that's not going to happen with me. Now that you're on my team, we will either sink or swim together. So what the hell are these terms? He slid over a piece of paper. I looked it over and agreed. We have a deal. I extended my hand and said, congratulations, Sergeant Blaine and Gunny Sergeant Reynolds. Now let's talk about your next mission. Present. Jens, C-130 headed to DI. I look around the plane and note that everyone either has someone or is asleep except for me. Once again, I'm alone and lonely as heck for Ben. But now, thanks to Maria, I understand things much better. I'd kiss the heck out of her if I was into that sort of thing. So I wander up to the flight deck to see what's going on and how soon we will be at DI. I almost reach the flight deck when IT hits me. I slump to the floor. Present, Tom and Byron. C-130 headed to DI. I've had a few too many cups of coffee to be able to rest or sleep, and I lost my chance with Maria when she took off with Linus. But that's okay because I can tell she's looking for commitment. The sort of commitment that starts with a W and ends with an EDDING. And I'm too old to be around one woman long enough for my boots to wear out. Besides, since my SIFs team is back together, I'm going to be busy. I look at Byron and ask, Byron, what's your take on Linus and Maria? Byron grimaces and responds, Tom, you already know how I feel about emotional entanglements with team members. They aren't good. I add, you're only half right. They aren't good, but are dangerous. Byron asks, so since you're back in the saddle again, how are you going to handle this? Damn him. He's my best friend, but sometimes he's also the biggest pain in my butt. I scratch my chin and come up with a hell of an idea. Just as I get ready to answer, I notice Jennifer Donaldson fall to the floor. I yell, hey, something's wrong with Jennifer Donaldson. Present, Maria, C-130 headed to DI. Linus and I are just starting to get busy, well as busy as we can get on this crowded flight. When I hear someone yell, look over and see my princess boss fall to the floor. I go with my normal response and say, shit. Linus looks worried and asks, did I do something wrong? I answer, hell no. Something's wrong with my princess boss. She just fell to the floor. I jump up and begin to get back into my clothes. Linus is up and like a typical man, finishes before I do and takes off to help Jens. Present, Linus, C-130 headed to DI. Shit is right. Things were just getting good between Maria and me, and then Jens. I laugh like hell that Maria calls her princess boss, but think I will start doing the same, is on the floor. Maria dismounts and starts to get dressed. I beat her to it and head toward Jens. As I run past Jim and Megan, I glance toward them and yell, something's wrong with Jens. Present, Megan, C-130 headed to DI. I'm languishing, enjoying being held by Jim, even though he's asleep. He is so gentle and kind he just might change my mind about men. Then one of the men runs by and yells, something's wrong with Jens. It wakes Jim and he asks, what's going on? I'm feeling better, so I begin to get up and answer, I guess something's happened to Jens, so I'd better go see if she needs my help. Jim is so sweet when he inquires, are you sure you can walk? Because I can carry you. I give him a kiss and say, thanks honey, but I can walk now. Then we stroll hand in hand towards the front of the plane. Present, Masha, C-130 headed to DI. I am awakened from a very troubled sleep. I had a terrible nightmare that I lost Jack and Ivan. If that ever happened, the only recourse for me would be to terminate my life. Because life without Jack would be hell and life without Ivan would be terminal. I listen and surmise that something is once again wrong with Miss Donaldson. She and her queen of drama antics are wearing on my patience, and if she does not terminate her follies, then I will be forced to find a permanent solution. As I slowly rise, my shoulder is throbbing, but I use my training to ignore the pain and head toward the crowd at the front of the aircraft. Present, Megan, C-130 headed to DI. I get to the crowd, push my way though, and see that Jens is on the ground half undressed with her chest bared to the entire world. Tom is over her giving her mouth-to-mouth and chest compressions. I demand, Tom, what the hell are you doing? He stops the rescue breaths, begins the chest compressions and says, she fell to the floor and I figured she needed some help. I angrily respond, you have a plane full of doctors and you decide she needs CPR? Don't you think you should have consulted one of the doctors? He stops and answers, well, everyone else was just standing around and she didn't seem to be breathing. I order, move your butt out of the way and let one of us professionals look at her. As I motion to one of the doctors, Tom moves and taunts, have at it, Sigmund. I ignored his crass comment and we kneel beside Jens. Present, Tom, C-130 headed to DI. Excuse the hell out of me, is what I really wanted to say to this psych bitch. I have no use for psychologists. They are all just Sigmund frauds. When I was in Nam, we had to act and act fast. We didn't have time to sit around and have tea parties while we discussed politics. Hell no, that was war and war is hell. I move toward the back of the crowd where Byron comes up and says, Tom, you did the right thing even if they didn't appreciate it. But Megan was also right. I look at him and say, Byron, what sort of half-statement is that? How can we both be right? He shrugs his good shoulder and says, well, you felt like the situation required action, but Megan was right. You should have motivated the doctors to look at Jennifer. I give him a dirty look and complain. After the way we have both been treated by doctors, you have the gall to say that? He smiles and explains, Tom, these are CIFS doctors, not VA doctors. I stare dumbfounded at him. I hate it when he's right. Present, Maria, C-130 headed to DI. I was about ready to rip Tom a new a-hole. CPR my butt. He was using the situation to feel up my princess boss. Linus sensed what I was going to do. How did he know? He pulls me to the side and cautions, Maria, your assessment of what's going on is incorrect. I give him a nasty look and demand, "How do you know what I was thinking?" He smiles at me. "I saw your body become tense, like a cobra getting ready to strike." Tom is really trying to help, but sometimes he goes about it in the wrong way. "If we're going to be on his team together, you will need to learn to cut him some slack." I turn back and note that Tom's been replaced by Megan and a doctor. My anger melts. Linus smiles at me, and I inquire, "So what team is this that I am going to be a part of?" Present, Linus, C-130 headed to DI. Shit, I might have just screwed up. I didn't clear bringing Maria on the team with Tom yet, and I already asked her. Now she wants to know more about the team. Yeah, I really screwed the pooch on this one. Perhaps I can distract her with some loving. I hug her and say, "Maria, you're a wonderful woman." She pulls back and says, "Linus, that statement had better not be followed by a but." I give her a shocked look and say, "No, Maria, you have it all wrong." She pulls her hand out of mine and states, "Linus, until you get your head out of your butt, I don't want you touching me." She moves over by Jens, and I mentally yell, "Women are sure screwed up." Here I was trying to be nice to her, and all I did was get her upset. Present, Masha, C-130 headed to DI. I determined that once again Ms. Donaldson is holding this entire aircraft hostage with her antics. I look at everyone watching her and make a decision. If Jack leaves me and takes Ivan, then I will terminate Ms. Donaldson before I terminate my own life. I smile inwardly. Yes, I will torture her so slowly she will think it is her new career, and when the time comes, she will gladly beg me for a merciful death. Present, Megan, C-130 headed to DI. Jens is as stiff as a board. When the doctor is finished examining her and pulls back, I look at him and inquire, "Well?" He shakes his head and responds, "Physically, Ms. Donaldson seems to be fine. She has a strong heartbeat in spite of the unnecessary chest compressions. Her breaths are regular, but extremely slow." So I question, psychological catatonic schizophrenia? He nods his head. That would be a possible diagnosis. Damn, sometimes I hate doctors, even though I am one. We hate to go out on a limb with a diagnosis unless we run hundreds of tests. Oh well, it's not our fault. It's the damn lawyers and all the malpractice cases. I decide this is my realm, so I order, "Okay, let's carefully move Jens to a bed." The doctor asks for confirmation. "Are you sure it's wise to move her?" I give him a dirty look and say, "Listen, Minjel, you can't do anything for her, so she's my patient." He spouts, "Well, I never." He leaves and I say after him, "Yeah, I bet you never did." I look at the crowd and say, "Are you all deaf?" I said let's move her to a bed. I'm shocked when Jim doesn't offer to help, but turns away and leaves. What did I do to make him upset? Well, I need to look after Jens first, then figure out what has Jim upset. Men. Present, Jim, C-130 headed to DI. Megan is cute as hell, and I'd love to get in her panties. But this situation has shown me something I hadn't seen before, a bitch's side of her that sours my stomach. I turn, walk away, and head back to my bed where this bitch sure as hell isn't welcome. Women. Present, Matt, C-130 headed to DI. I guess the show is over. At least Jens isn't dying for right now. But Megan has a hell of a lot to learn about men. She's pissed Jim off with her attitude, and he took off sulking like a scalded dog. I catch up with him and advise, "Jim, you need to cut Megan some slack." He glowers at me and complains, "I'm tired of cutting women slack. Look at what it got me with my ex." I cut her slack and she removed my balls. I try to counter, "Jim, she never was right for you?" He snaps at me. "Then why the hell didn't you tell me before I married the bitch?" Shit. He has a valid point. I should have told him. Present, Maria, C-130 headed to DI. We get my princess boss to a bed and Megan starts studying her more closely. I ask, "Can't you give her something?" Then the bitch gives me a foul look and snaps, "Yes, I can and will, but first I need to do a total physical assessment, so back off." Back off my butt. I just get ready to open up a can of whoop, but on her when Linus comes, grabs my arm and whispers in my ear, "Maria, let Megan do her job." Then he leads me to the edge of the group. I watch her work on my princess boss and dream about later when I'm going to teach her a lesson. Present, Byron, C-130 headed to DI. Megan has done a good job of alienating nearly the whole plane, so I guess once again it's up to me to try to patch things together. I walk over close as Megan begins to prepare a syringe and ask, "What are you going to give her, a benzodiazepine?" She snaps at me like I figured she would and says, "That's right, Gramps. I'm giving her Ativan to try to bring her out of the seizure." "What business is it of yours?" I just love shrinks. They think they really know how to help people, but they sure hate it when you use their own weapons against them. I smile at her and say, "Well, just like you, I care for Jennifer, so that's my concern. Now would you like to tell me how her current condition is making you feel?" She gives me an ugly look and answers, "Hell no, I wouldn't like to tell you how her current condition is making me feel." I smile and answer for her, "Isn't becoming defensive a typical response to stress, and doesn't it precipitate making mistakes? You might want to double-check that dose before you inject her." Megan looks at the syringe, looks at the bottle, and then she slumps to the floor and begins to cry. Shit, I hate crying women. I look around and motion to Tom. He comes over, and I ask, Tom, can you take care of Megan? He gives me a dirty look and refuses. That's a hell of a thing to ask after what she did to me. Then he leaves. I look around, and the only one she hasn't insulted is Masha. I give Masha a pleading look and ask, Masha, can you help? Masha walks up, smiles, and states, Byron, I cannot move Megan because of my shoulder. If you would remove Megan, I would be more than happy to administer the proper amount of Ativan and then monitor her response. I help Megan up and lead her away. Present, Masha, C-130 headed to DI. My hopes are dashed. I recognized Megan was going to overdose Ms. Donaldson. While unfortunately it might not have been fatal, it would have prevented her from being a nuisance for an extended period of time. Now I must perform my duty with care and concern because if Ms. Donaldson dies in my care, then the light of suspicion will be cast upon me. Especially since Ms. Donaldson's aide is right at her side scrutinizing everything I am doing. I draw a dose of Ativan, apply a tourniquet around Ms. Donaldson's arm, sterilize her skin, get ready to apply the injection when the aide interrupts. Are you certain that is the correct dosage? I stop and offer. If you would prefer to administer the injection, it would not offend me. She gives me a troubled look and answers, no thanks, I am just doing my job. I apply the injection, then I check my watch because I know we should see some results soon. Present, Maria, C-130 headed to DI. I move back to my princess boss's side after the psycho bitch is gone and watch closely what Masha is doing. I don't trust her one bit since she and the twins are certainly on my fecal roster. If she knew Megan was going to OD my princess boss, why didn't she stop her? I ask her to double-check the dosage, and she offers to let me administer the injection. Because I sure as hell don't know the correct dosage, I relent and Masha injects my princess boss, then looks at her watch. I question, how long will it be until we see some effect? Masha calmly answers, it varies with the individual, but I would hope to see some response in 20 minutes. I check my watch and say, I'm going to grab a cup of coffee, and we'll be right back. I take off to get some coffee and to have a little tete-a-tete with Linus. I find Linus sleeping. What is it about men? They can sleep any time. Kick his butt and demand, wake the hell up. I need you. He rolls over, gets all excited, and says, finally, I've been hoping to finish what we started earlier. I give him a dirty look and explain, not that way and not right now. I need to talk to you about my princess boss and what the hell has happened. He gives me that sad puppy dog look, so I bend over, give him a smoke and kiss and promise, but later I will make up for it. He jumps out of bed. We head to the coffee pot, and when I am sure we're not being overheard, I begin. Present, Linus, C-130 headed to DI. Maria tells me, Linus, I'm not completely sure that my princess boss is safe. I mean, Megan almost owed her, and then I had to trust Masha to give her the proper amount for the injection. I question, Maria, what don't you like about Masha? Maria gives me a long list that I have trouble believing and then finishes with, plus it's just a feeling I have about her. It's the same feeling I have about the twins. I look at her and know I have to tread lightly, otherwise I will piss her off. So I say, I do know that Ben got Jack and Masha together, so I'm pretty sure Masha is okay. Maria starts to reply when we hear screams of anguish. Maria says, shit, that's Jens. I'm going to kill Masha if she's hurt Jens. And we run toward the screaming. Present, Byron, C-130 headed to DI. I just get Megan to a bed and tuck her in. She blubbered the whole time about almost killing Jennifer. I say, Megan, it was an honest mistake that anyone could make. She shakes her head, but I almost hurt the woman I love. I am flabbergasted by that statement, and it almost makes me physically ill. I try to come up with an answer other than you are one sick bitch when I am saved by the sound of Jennifer screaming bloody murder. Megan jumps up and says, oh hell no. What's happened to my Jens? We both take off for the front of the plane. Present, Tom, C-130 headed to DI. I still can't believe Byron asked me to take care of that snooty bitch. He should know better. I'm back at the coffee pot, but find it's empty, so I just start making a new pot when Jennifer starts screaming like crazy. It makes me jump. I drop the damn coffee pot. It breaks and scatters glass all over the floor, but I decide I'll leave it for later because I'd better see what the hell is going on this time with Jennifer. I sure hope that snooty bitch doesn't show up again. Present, Matt and Jim, C-130 headed to DI. I just get Jim to settle down and figure I need to go find Megan, rip her a new one, and tell her she'd better get her, but over here and beg Jim's forgiveness. When I hear ear-splitting screams from the front of the plane and see everyone running toward the front, Jim joins me and says, what the hell is going on now? I answer, well, I sure as hell don't know, but I'm getting tired of all this bullshit. Jim nods his head and agrees. Yeah, if Jens didn't pay so well. And I continue, and if we didn't really need the jobs, then we'd leave. Jim finishes, well, I guess we'd better see what sort of shit's happening now. Present Liz different C, 1:30 to DI. I wake up, feel much better, and decide I'd overreacted to the situation. However, I feel out of touch with everything, which isn't at all good for a reporter. I wake up Bernie and ask, do we still have our portable TV? He shakes his head. Sorry, it went down with the plane like the rest of the gear. Then I remember the gold and come to the conclusion that I have to find a way to get a salvage team, to be more precise our salvage team, on site to recover the gold. I decide to head to the flight deck to see if I can find a mobile phone or some way to make things happen. As I walk by the girls, I notice they are glued to a TV set watching music videos. Now how in the hell are they getting a TV feed on this aircraft? Oh well, that's a question for later. I casually glance at a scrolling ticker at the bottom of the screen. It's talking about an attack at a DC airport, and that immediately catches my attention. I go over and flip the channel to my network as the girls complain. Well, more exactly, Yasmin complains while Zarika just smiles. Those two are sure strange. I still can't believe I brought them with me. I am shocked when I see the report about how a private airport was attacked in DC. The attack resulted in the destruction of several attack helicopters and how a lone aircraft took off, without a flight plan, right after the attack. Now I really need a mobile phone. I am almost to the flight deck when an armed soldier stops me and says, sorry, you aren't allowed on the flight deck. I pitch a fit. Listen, Grunt. I'm Liz Morgan, the one you're rescuing, and I need to get a mobile phone to contact my station ASAP. He replies, sorry, miss, but you're not the one we were sent to rescue. We were sent to rescue Miss Sedankina. You are simply collateral to her rescue. What the hell? They were sent to rescue Mira. Then I remember the Tavarish comment earlier, and suddenly things make a little more sense. I hightail it to the back of the plane, find Mira, and ask, Mira, I really need a mobile phone to contact the network, and the soldiers won't let me have one. Do you think you could ask them for one? She smiles at me and answers, certainly, Ms. Morgan. You know that I will assist you with anything. We both walk toward the front of the plane, reach the armed soldier, and he challenges, sorry, but only Ms. Sedankina is allowed past this point. Mira grabs my hand and says, do not concern yourself, Ms. Morgan. I will acquire a mobile telephone for your use. Mira leaves me, goes onto the flight deck, and returns in a few minutes with a very big smile on her face and a mobile phone. I question Mira why the smile. She answers, I was able to persuade the pilot to make a brief stop to take on some supplies which are essential to my mission. She no sooner tells me that then I hear the sound of the engines change and the pitch of the C-130 changes. Mira says, Ms. Morgan, here is your mobile phone. Now please acquire a seat while we land. I shake my head and wonder what sort of fairy tale I've become an unwilling participant in. Present Mira different C-130 to DI. When Ms. Morgan informed me they would not allow her to acquire a mobile phone, it was very interesting. Even more interesting was that the Guardian let me continue but detained Ms. Morgan. When I collocate upon the flight deck, it becomes apparent to me what transpired by the manner in which I am treated. I assumed the characteristics of a donkey posterior because I wrongly assumed this flight was to rescue Ms. Morgan. In actuality, this mission was to secure my continued viability. I determined the change in situation perception is very interesting. It clarifies the intention from the conversation which transpired earlier on the telephone. Tavarish, which was previously slightly puzzling, is now totally understandable to me. I had not taken time to consider the ramifications of Tavarish because I was engaged in a more urgent and pressing matter. I required some method in which to preserve the only male procreation component from my Lance Corporal Ben. The time is critically approaching when the liquid nitrogen bath which preserves my future happiness would be depleted, extinguishing all hope of begetting his offspring. I casually mention my needs to the flight crew without revealing the precise truth of the situation, and they surprise me by immediately honoring my wishes with a flurry of activity. They locate a different and very close clinic which has the required expertise, discuss the needs with the aforementioned clinic, arrange for their personnel to meet us at the airport with the necessary equipment and staff, change their flight plan, and begin a descent to the airport. I was so preoccupied I practically disremembered to request a mobile phone for Ms. Morgan. I recall at the last moment, and a phone magically appears for my use. I leave the flight deck, inform Ms. Morgan of our slight change in plans, and hand her the mobile phone. I bite my lip to keep from laughing because she is terribly confused as I take her arm and lead her back to her seat. Then I rejoin Alexei to tell him of my good news. Alexei, we will be landing shortly, and they will replenish the liquid nitrogen charge for our canister. He excitedly answers, my sister Mira, that is excellent news because the thermometer is starting to climb at a barely perceptible rate. The only way I can ascertain the difference is because I marked the temperature location when we first entered the helicopter. I smile at him, tousle his hair, and exclaim, my brother, how did you acquire so much intelligence? He gives me a sad look and answers, Mira, I am from Mama and Papa like you and our dear dead sister Ira. That is why I am so intelligent. I hope you do not get upset, my sister Mira, but I would like to honor Ira's death soon with a quiet service. My emotions accelerate for one moment because with the problem concerning my L.CPL's male procreation component, I have forgotten about the sacrifices my sister Ira made. Without her actions which brought this about, I would now be devastated, and I am exceedingly shamed that I had not previously remembered. I answer, Alexei, you are correct, and thank you for reminding me. We will honor our deceased sister Ira as soon as we reach Ms. Donaldson's cabin. The flight touches down, and many soldiers swarm out of the aircraft. Finally, they motion to me, and I convey the blessed canister and proceed down the steps. Present Liz different C, 1:30 to DI. I am distracted and forget to make my phone calls because of the way Mira is acting and because I feel the C, 1:30 land. The soldiers set up a perimeter around the plane. Then several of them check a veterinary vehicle while I watch in amazement as Mira leaves the aircraft carrying the cylinder with her on her walk toward the veterinary vehicle. I look at Bernie and ask, just what the hell do you think is going on? He's watching the show too, and he says, well, whatever Mira has in that cylinder, it looks to me they are doing something to it. Did she ever tell you what's in it? I shake my head and answer, I don't have a clue, but she has seemed preoccupied with it ever since Alexei saved it from the plane crash. Whatever they needed to do, they apparently finished, and Mira returns to the plane. Bernie remarks, well, whatever it is, she's carrying it as if it was a baby. Then it hits me, and I exclaim, Bernie, that must be someone's semen in that container. He nods his head, Liz, that's the only thing that makes sense to me. But whose semen is it? My mind begins to work. I mentally add things up and suggest, Bernie, I bet it's from the mystery man who saved Mira and called her Tavarish. He agrees. Liz, that's the only thing that makes sense. So who do you think this mystery lover of hers is? I watch an absolutely beaming Mira enter the plane. She is holding the cylinder just like a baby, and I say, I don't know, but from the way Mira looks I would say that she's in love with him, and I think we better plan on a baby or two in the future. Bernie snaps, well, I'm sure as hell not changing any diapers. I laugh and think, now that's a typical male response. Present, Stacy's parents, driving to Texas. It was very nice of Jennifer Donaldson to inform us about the possible location of Stacy. She didn't know, but we had already figured out that Stacy and Jennifer Donaldson's ex-fiancé were shacking up. We had hoped to find her before the scumsucker knocked her up, or even worse married her, because that would put a serious damper on our plans. My wife asks, honey, do you think it's wise for us to be traveling to Texas to find Stacy ourselves? I continue driving, look at her and say, certainly my love. Think of all the reward money we will save when we find her. My wife laughs, it would be better if we just found her body. I laugh and answer, yes, sweets, great minds think alike. My wife reminds me, hey, isn't there a reward for that Donaldson girl's fiancé? I think, then smile and agree, love, I do believe you are right. She giggles, did it specify he had to be alive? I laugh, no my dear, it didn't say he had to be alive. We both laugh. Now, to find our worthless daughter and hopefully arrange an accident for her and her new boyfriend. Present, mystery guy, in the early evening. After the bloke and his Sheila went into the bunker, I moved a bit closer to their location. I wanted to scan things a bit better and figure out a plan to grab the Sheila and go. It took some hours, then the bloke came outside with a Brumby and he began mucking with an old-looking rifle. Soon his Sheila followed him in. When I saw her duds, I knew I had to get her away from the bloke and sample some of that for myself. He was one lucky scumsucker. The bloke appeared to be distracted with the rifle and the Sheila. She was sure giving him a show, and it was causing some discomfort in him duds. I decided that the time was right, with the distraction to see if I could sneak up and catch him by surprise. Present, Stacy, in the early evening. Bo and Patches whinny. Ben shoves me down to the ground, pulls the rifle up to his shoulder and shouts, freeze, or you're dead. I don't know what's going on, so I draw my pistol. Ben fires the rifle. It scares me, and in the excitement, I accidentally fire my pistol. Then I hear a bunch of swearing. Cricky, you bloody scumsuckers, don't shoot. I'm not a Mexican. Ben orders. I saw you sneaking up on us 400 meters away. I told you to freeze, and you moved your hands, so that shot was the only warning shot you will get. If you were a bandito, you would already be dead. Now move again, and you die. The voice complains, what about the second shot? Ben embarrasses me. That was my traveling companion who made a mistake and fired. Stacy, make sure that never happens again. Stacy, stand up slowly and back towards the stables. And you, whoever you are, don't make any sudden moves and keep your hands where I can see them. Present, mystery guy, in the early evening. Well, the best rooted plans of mice and men fail, and this was a total failure. The bloke totally fooled him noggin into thinking he didn't see me. Then when the Brumbies sounded the alert, he had his rifle up faster than I could believe. I thought I might slip my hands to pistol, but the second hand moved, he fired a shot between my feet. He worked the lever so fast I couldn't even see it, and drew a bead on center mass. When I heard the second shot, I feared life was ended. But it wasn't a total failure since I know the bloke is not to be messed with. But the Sheila, now she's green as the grass is long. I need to handle this very carefully and needed to use art of being an expert dodger to the max. So naturally I grin and lie. Now don't go doing anything rash. I'm just a fellow traveler like you two. I had to be careful approaching the two of you because I didn't know who you were. For all I know, you might have been Mexicans. The bloke keeps his rifle trained on chest and answers, that's a load of bullshit. You've been glassing us from the hills all day, ever since I first chased you away. Stacy, get your rifle and help me cover him. If he so much as flinches, shoot him in the crotch. The Sheila grabs a rifle, and now I'm really worried since she might just shoot me accidentally. So I burl a different tactic and tell the truth, at least as much truth as any dodger will admit. Okay, bloke, you've got him stone cold. I was hoping to join up with the two of you, but wasn't sure you was bonds enough. Now I can see you're more than bonds enough. So what you say? Present, Stacy, in the early evening. So Ben's known about this man watching us all day and hasn't shared it with me? I blush because I wonder if he saw the show I was putting on for Ben. That show was supposed to be just for Ben. He seems like a nice enough man. He's clean, certainly not Mexican, and has a charming accent. But he did try to sneak up on us, which I don't like. Ben orders, Stacy, do you have him covered? I grin and say, hell yes, my gun is ready to turn him from a rooster into a hen. Ben says, okay, mister, you're going to slowly raise your hands over your head and keep them there. Then you are to kneel to the ground, keeping your hands above your head and fall face first to the ground. If you deviate from these orders, you die. He complains, but that's going to muck up face when I fall. Ben answers, tough shit, you can either do as told or die. Now move it. I tighten my finger on the trigger as he raises his hands. Then he kneels and finally falls face first to the ground. Ben moves closer to him and orders, Stacy, make sure you don't shoot me by mistake. I'm shocked at what Ben does next. Present, Ben, in the early evening. I walk quickly up to this opfer, crack him a good one on the back of his head and knock his butt out. Stacy gasps and complains, what the hell did you do that for? I look at her and reply, because he's an unknown threat to us who has been stalking us for at least a day, and I wanted to be able to take my time while examining his gear and credentials. Now keep covering him while I restrain him, then get your butt back inside and get back into some decent clothes. You look like a 304, and that's probably what caused him to try to sneak up on us. I hear her cry as I pull some tie wraps from my tactical vest and restrain his hands and feet. Once I'm done, she bitches, 304 my butt. I was just putting on a show to try to cheer you up. See if I ever do that again. As she heads inside sniffling, Bo nickers at me, and I yell, shut the hell up, you hay burner. Now to see who our mystery man is. Present, Stacy, in the early evening. I can't believe Ben. The scumsucker called me a 304. I sure as hell don't know what's wrong with him. But ever since we almost made love, he's been, well, nasty to me and in a foul mood. I begin to change, look at the bruises his damn paintball gun gave me, look at my body in the mirror and decide, I'm too fracking good for him. So I come up with a new plan to teach him a lesson. Present, Ben, in the early evening. Well, I've searched his backpack and I'm disgusted with what I've found. First, his name is Guy Fawkes, and he is from Australia. The part of his journal I had time to read was disgusting because he detailed how he tortured the Mexicans he captured, including the women. Yeah, if he wasn't lying, what he did to the women was definitely perverted. But what was worse were the narcotics I found in his pack. While I might have tied one on the past, I remember the shit that almost happened last time with Stacy and Grimace. I never used pot or narcotics and his pack was full of both. I start a little fire and begin to burn the pot. Stacy walks out of the stables and bitches, what the hell are you doing? I decide that my looking like a 304 comment was probably uncalled for, but I'm sure as hell not going to apologize to her while she's in a pissy mood, so I respond, I'm burning the pot I found in Guy's backpack. She gets ready to answer when Guy wakes up and starts yelling, hey bloke, what you doing? That's some high-class Mexican gold you're mucking up. Stacy adds her worthless comment. Ben, just what right do you have to destroy his property? Now stop that and help me sit him up against the wall. I throw some more shit on the fire and state, my might makes it right. I sure as hell don't want some stoner stalking us or traveling with us. Stacy is insistent. Ben, cut it out and help me sit him up. She begins to struggle with him. Guy begins to yell that she's hurting him, so I decide to help just to get him to shut up. I move him against the bunker and order, now shut up or I will gag you. Stacy sits beside him and begins talking to him, and I decide there's a fool born every minute. Can't she see that he's bad news? Then it hits me. He's bad, so she's attracted to him like a bee to honey. What the hell is it about so many women that they find bad men attractive? It's not like she's going to change him. Oh well, at least she's leaving me alone. But I do need to get her to read his journal. I continue to burn his pot while listening to their conversation to see if I can figure out what the hell he's really doing here. And I continue to SLLS, because for all I know he could have an accomplice. Present, Stacy and Guy, in the early evening. I sure as hell don't know what Ben's problem is with this man. So he uses a little pot. It's not like we all haven't tried it at one time. I sit beside him and say, sorry about Ben, but once he sets his mind on something there's no changing it. I'm Stacy, what's your name? He gives me a dazzling smile and answers with his cute accent, pleased to meet you, Stacy. Name's Guy Fawkes. I begin to giggle because he has the same name as the revolutionary in UK who helped to plan the gunpowder treason in 1605. I recite, remember the 5th of November. The gunpowder treason and plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. He gives an easy laugh and says, yep, that's me. Mum thought it would be a bonza joke, since last name was already Fawkes if she gave me the first name Guy. I laugh and decide I like him. We watch Ben throw some more pot on the fire. I can see it upsets Guy, and he pleads, Stacy, I wonder if you could have your bloke stop burning him medicine. You see, I have some back problems, and I only use it medicinally. I make up my mind. Ben is one out of control scumsucker, so I promise. You bet I will. I jump up, run over to Ben, and complain, Ben, you need to stop burning Guy's pot immediately. He only uses it medicinally for back pain. Ben sneers and says, yeah, right. And what other fairy tales has he told you? I stamp my foot and threaten, if you burn any more of his pot, I will make your life a living hell. He opens his mouth to say something, stops like he's reconsidering what he's going to say, and continues, have it your way. But before you believe any more of his lies or trust him any further, you should read his journal. Now you've got the watch because I need to go inside and use the head. Present, Ben, in the early evening. I wanted to tell Stacy she already makes my life a living hell, but decided I'd already pissed her off enough for today. I didn't need the head, but I also needed some time to think without Stacy's infernal whining. What the hell to do about Guy? We sure can't take him with us, but I'm not happy about letting him go. If what he wrote in his journal is true, the scumsucker deserves to die. But with Stacy liking him, there was no way I can do that. I curse myself for not just shooting him in the first place and being done with it. I guess I take longer in the head than I thought. I hear a hell of a noise outside the door and wonder what the hell is going on. I quickly finish, prepare my weapons, and hear a familiar snort outside the door. Shit. What the hell is Bo doing in the bunker? I'm still careful opening the door until I get it partway open and Bo forces his head inside. He is upset as hell about something. I start to ask him what the hell he wants when he latches onto my tactical vest and hauls my butt outside. I get outside and I'm pissed as hell because no one's standing watch. Stacy's gone, Guy's gone, and both Patches and Knacker are gone. I look around and see that Guy must have packed in a hurry because he forgot some of his things. Bo nickers and I tell him, good riddance to bad garbage. Those two deserve each other. I turn to walk away, but Bo grabs my tactical vest again, and then he pitches a bigger fit than Stacy ever did. I need to quickly figure out what the hell he wants because a pissed-off woman isn't nearly as dangerous as a pissed-off horse. Present, Guy, in the early evening. Lady Luck smiled on me again. The bloke left to use the crikey, leaving Stacy to watch me. It took me about 2 seconds to charm her into letting me go, another 2 seconds to knock her out, and then about 10 minutes to pack, tie her over the saddle of the small Brumby, and get on the old Brumby. I wanted that cool bananas big brown Brumby, but he about kicked the crikey out of me when I got close to him, then he took off. Well, that's fine cause the bloke ain't going to catch us without a Brumby. I can't wait to get fur enough away to stop and drug up Stacy. I figure if I keep her doped up enough I can tap her all I want, and she won't be any wiser. Then when I grow tired of her, I can give her to them parents and collect a bonza reward. Present, Stacy, in the late evening. I wake up and I feel really good other than I'm cold. I realize I don't have on any clothes. Begin to move to find my clothes when Guy comes over and says, about time you woke up. I sure hope you're a better rude awake than asleep. Then he climbs on top of me, but something just doesn't seem right to me, only I can't figure it out. Anyway, he feels really good until he tries to do something really nasty, and even in my mellow state it really hurts. I begin to struggle, but he laughs and says, now that's better. I like it when women fight. I cry and scream, Ben. But all I hear is Guy's evil laugh. Then things go black. Present, Ben, in the late evening. I thought Stacy was a pain in the butt, but she was nothing compared to Bo. When a woman is a pain in the butt, you can ignore them. But have you ever tried to ignore a horse? It's like trying to ignore the freight train barreling down on a car that's stuck on a railroad crossing. Every time I tried to leave, he grabbed my tactical vest. If I turned and swatted at him with my hat, he'd dodge it, and then try to grab it from me. Finally, I keep swatting at him with my hat, back into the bunker, and close the door before he can force his head through. Now for some peace and quiet. I move away from the door and then jump like hell. That damn horse is kicking the door. I've had my fill of this bullshit, so I'm going to beat the hell out of him. I grab a shovel in the corner, open the door, and shit. The next thing I know, Bo is standing over me snorting in my face, and I feel like that car on the railroad crossing that couldn't get out of the way and got hit by the train. I remember seeing two big hooves right before they hit me in the chest. I begin to move and my chest is sore as hell. I sit up and lots of things go crunch. Thank God it's only the gear in my tactical vest, and not me. I begin checking my gear and sure enough, it's all busted to hell. But for once it's not me busted to hell. Bo's head is still hovering over mine, so I slap the hell out of him and scold. If you ever do that again, I'm going to fire you and ride knacker. He shakes his head, knickers, and then becomes the infernal pest again, pulling at my destroyed tactical vest. I relent and say, okay, you've made your point, we can go get patches and knacker. But first I need to figure out what the hell gear I'm taking because you've destroyed my tactical vest. I look at the Winchester Centennial 66 in the corner and the two Ruger Vaquero revolvers in a quick draw rig and decide. What the hell, when in Texas act like a Texican. As I begin to stand up, Bo grabs the tactical vest and helps me up. I scratch his head and say, it's about time you did something useful because I'm tired you just eating and shitting. Now if you could just saddle yourself you'd be a damn fine horse. He takes off at the comment, and I shake my head and wonder what the hell. Then I head to the corner to change out my gear. As I go to take off the AK slung over my chest hurts like hell at the movement. Then I figure out why. The damn AK has been kicked to hell. Damn hay burner. That was one of the best AKs I'd ever fired. Well, better the AK taking the brunt of the blow than my chest, and I again remind myself just how dangerous a pissed-off horse is. I function check the revolvers and rifle and smile at how much easier this is with these fine old-style weapons. I grab some saddlebags and load up with ammo for everything. I stop to think for a second and decide to grab the bolt-action rifle I saw earlier too. I pick it up, and I'm glad I did since it's chambered in .300 Win Mag. Now I will have a long-range and a short-range rifle. I load the Win Mag, load up ammo for it in the saddlebags, and grab all the rest of the gear I might possibly need. I heft the saddlebags. They're heavy as hell, and I smile. Yeah, it's about time the damn hay burner does some work. He's been getting fat and lazy. I head to the stable and about laugh my butt off. Damn, Bo's been trying to saddle himself, but what he's really done is what he normally does, make a mess out of everything. I yell at him, you crazy cayuse. Don't you know when I'm being facetious? Now just look at the mess you've made. I hope you're damn happy with yourself. He hangs his head, and I wonder if I've gone too far. Do horses have feelings, and can you hurt them? I decide after almost having my chest stove in by him, that I'd better not piss him off, so I walk over and apologize. Listen, I'm just upset right now, so forgive me for saying what I did to you. He raises his head, gives me a big lick across the face, and I sputter, damn. If I didn't need you to find the other horses, I'd shoot you, and let the coyotes eat your carcass. Don't ever do that again. Now hold still while I saddle you. Of course he doesn't listen, and he's as fidgety as a teenage boy at his first dance. I keep moving my feet, so he doesn't step on one and bust it. Finally he's saddled. I throw the saddlebags on. He lets out his breath, and I comment, damn right it's heavy. Be thankful I don't make you carry twice as much. I put the rifles in twin scabbards and lead Bo outside. He's prancing like crazy as I close and lock the doors, after making sure I have the keys. Mount up and complain. It's dark as hell. I sure don't know how we're going to find them. And then I have to hold on with both hands around his neck for dear life. He takes off like a horse cruise missile. He is a horse on a mission. I sure didn't know he cared for patches and knacker that much. I smell the smoke before I see the fire. I see the fire before I see Stacy, but when I finally do see her, I'm pissed as hell at myself for not shooting that scumsucker when I had the chance. She lying on the ground nude, and even from here, I can see some bruises. She was a pain in the butt, but no woman ever deserves what the scumsucker did to her. I worry that she's dead, jump off Bo before he even stops and run to her side. Present, Guy, in the late evening. I was having himself a beaut of a time with Stacy, teaching her things she'd never been taught. I took a fair dose of Viagra and was going to keep it up all night until the Brumbies started acting up, and I figured her bloke had found some way to find us. I grab him gear and take off on foot. Then I heard a hell of a commotion from the Brumbies behind me. So I begin to run as best I can, taking into account my delicate condition. Present, Ben, in the late evening. I reach Stacy's side, and thank God she's not dead. But with the waning firelight, I'm certain if she remembers what the scumsucker did to her, she's going to wish she was dead. He ripped her up, the the sick scumsucker. Hate and rage flare in my mind. I want to find the scumsucker, stake him over an anthill, and let them slowly eat him to death. But my first concern has to be Stacy, because she's really messed up and bleeding. I yell, "Bo, get your butt over here with that medkit." All the horses run over. I jump up, grab the medkit, and go to work. This is going to hurt like hell, so I hope she doesn't wake up. It takes hours. The more I work on her, the more I find he did, and the greater my rage. I finally finish, get some clothes on her, lay out some blankets, and gently place her on them. And I promptly fall down beside her, exhausted. I tell Bo, "I'm too damn tired to do anything, so you horses have the watch. If that scumsucker comes back, I hope you kill him." Present, Stacy. The next morning, I wake up and find myself outside, in extreme pain, and with Ben beside me. I wonder what the hell happened. The last thing I remember, I was at the bunker with Ben and Guy. I nudge Ben. He jumps up and yells, "I'm going to kill the scumsucker." I look at him and question, "Ben, what the hell happened?" He gives me a concerned look and simply says, "Stacy, it's better if you don't know." I reach down and feel that I have pads everywhere. With a frown I complain, "Things sure hurt down here." Ben orders, "Don't mess with things because if you do, you will start bleeding again. Now that you're awake, we need to get you back to the bunker." I sit up, my rear hurts like hell, and I complain some more. "Ben, I don't know what happened, but I'm not sure I can ride in a saddle." He smiles at me and explains, "Yeah, I didn't think you'd want to ride, so I made you a travois." He picks me up so carefully, sets me on the travois behind Knacker, and says, "Let me know if you need something for paying." I smile at him and say, "Thanks, Ben. It's good to see how nice you're being to me." I lie back and slowly drift off to sleep. At least Ben is back to his normal self, but what the hell happened to me? Present, Ben, the next morning. It's good that Stacy doesn't remember anything right now. I was pretty sure he gave her roofies. I'm also glad she fell back to sleep because travel for her isn't going to be easy right now, and I didn't want to give her anything for pain if I could avoid it. I look at Bo and ask, "Get us back to the bunker and take it easy. Stacy is really hurt." We take off, and I continue to curse at myself. I broke one of my rules. Have a plan to kill anyone you meet. If I ever meet that scumsucker again, he's dead. Present, Guy, the next morning. Luck smiles on himself again. I catch a ride in the back of a lorry into the closest town, find a local diner, sit down, and order up a big plate of chow. After a night of debauchery, I'm always hungry as hell. I finish, walk outside, and lo and behold, Luck grins at himself again, and this time in his solid gold. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Most people wrongly assume that scout snipers get to run around shooting people all the time. That's just not the case, since we take the scout part of the mission very seriously. Many times we infiltrate a place to gather intel, and the last thing we want is to be seen, and we are never allowed to be captured. We moved slowly and stealthily down this goat path, where it was hot as hell, and the wind kicked up dust everywhere. I sneezed and Ben whispered, "Jack, take another damn antihistamine and stop making so much noise. You know what will happen if we're caught since we're not supposed to even be here." I was miserable. I had a bad head cold, and it felt like my sinuses were going to explode. Since we arrived in this godforsaken, backwards, goat-herding country, it had been hot as hell during the day and then cold as a cemetery at night. Why the hell anyone would live here was beyond my comprehension. I whined, "Well, what the hell happened to that country club mission to Russia you told me about?" Ben countered, "Jack, right now in Moscow the high temperature is about -20 Celsius. At least here it's warm during the day. Quick, someone's coming." We slipped off the side of the trail, hunkered down in our ghillie suits, and became one of the worthless scrub bushes that somehow survived in this desert. Once again, Ben's keen eyes saved us, because a few minutes later a RG, Republican Guard, patrol passed by so closely that even with my head cold, I could smell the scumsuckers. Well, that's not quite true. Since my nose was filled with concrete, they made my eyes water, but I couldn't really smell them. But perhaps it was the head cold and all the damn dust that just made everything worse. I didn't care if it was -40 in Moscow right now, since I would have rather been there than here. At least there I would have vodka and the sexy as hell Russian women. I felt another sneeze coming. I tried to stop it, but... Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. Son of a gun. Jack just sneezed again. I got ready to engage the RG patrol, but once again, we got lucky. Thanks to the wind, they didn't hear us. Jack was a real pain when he got sick. He was worse than a kid, and he'd been under the weather since almost day one after we arrived. He tried to blame it on the climate, but I was sure he caught it from someone he met right before we left. Personally, I didn't have a high opinion of her, but Jack wasn't too picky when it came to company. That said, he was right. This place was nothing like Russia. I had my sights set on going there, and had even heard that was our destination. I bragged to the major about it, but he just laughed and said, "Old intel is no intel." Next thing we knew, We were headed straight for the desert, where we weren't supposed to be, on a mission no one would acknowledge if we got caught. Our objective was to recon weapons that supposedly didn't exist. It didn't take a genius to figure out that we were gathering intelligence to identify targets for future strikes. So far, we'd managed to stay under the radar, no thanks to Jack. Even though he outranked me, I made a decision. Jack, with your damn cold, you're a detriment to this mission. We're moving you further away from this path, and you're going to hunker down and take those damn narcotics I've been trying to get you take for the last 3 weeks. I knew he was really sick when he didn't complain. Besides, Jack was hiding something from me, and I wasn't sure what. Yeah, when you work with a guy for this long, you can tell when they conceal something. According to the maps, which sure as hell haven't been perfect, there's supposed to be a ravine about half a click away. I made a beeline towards it, checked to make sure Jack was following, but found he wasn't wiping out our tracks. However, I noticed it was windy enough I didn't have to scold him for that. Yet when he got sick, he also got sloppy. We found the ravine. It looked perfect, so I bedded Jack down in the ravine, marked his location on the GPS and maps, and ordered, take those damn narcotics, stay in your ghillie suit, and sweat this cold the hell out. Whatever you do, keep a low profile because I sure as hell don't want you getting caught, not in your condition. If I'm not back in 2 days, bug the hell out because I will have been captured. He just waved his hand at me and said, looks who's telling me how to be a Marine. I shook my head and left, made sure to follow our path in, and wiped out our footprints. Damn, he was a cranky old scumsucker when he got sick. I hated to leave him, but someone had to finish this mission. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Damn, I never thought Ben would leave. When he left, I got up stumbled about 5 meters away and took a leak. It burnt like hell and had some blood in it. Yeah, the skanky hoe got me on both ends, because not only did I get the head cold from her, I also got a case of clap from her, and let me tell you, VD is nothing to clap about. I hated being left here alone, but I knew I couldn't go much further, so Ben did the right thing. I went back to where he left me, pulled out my medkit, and began to fix both ends. Whenever I take medicine, I subscribe to the philosophy of that which doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Besides, as sick as I was, I would just as soon be out of it until I was either better or dead. So I gave myself a hell of a dose of everything, laid back and felt myself relax. Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. When I left, I knew Jack hated it, but it was better than getting caught, which would have happened if he continued with me. They dropped 5 teams in here, 3 from the Army and 1 SEAL team, and from what I heard on the nightly reports, we and the SEALs were the only ones left. But there were no prisoners from the other teams. When you went into a country like this, carrying Israeli equipment capture was not an option. Yeah, that reminded me. I'd better make sure the M89 SR rifle I'm carrying hadn't gotten full of sand and jammed again. Who the hell made a semi-auto sniper rifle anyway? So far we had avoided detection, so I hadn't had to fire this piece of shit weapon, but I wanted to make sure it was working if I needed it. Even though it was based on the M14, it was still more prone to jams than my M40. My M40 was like a Timex watch. It took a licking and kept on ticking. Plus, this piece of shit felt like a toy because it used a bullpup design. Because of the design flaws, I'd seen guys lose part of their face when a bullpup failed. I stopped, performed a function check, and I was glad as hell I did. No, there wasn't a problem with this piece of junk. However, there was another RG patrol, and these guys had extremely high situational awareness, which told me I must be getting close to my objective. I patiently waited for the patrol to pass, moved back onto the goat trail, and headed toward what was believed to be a chemical weapons plant. That was a terrifying thought. Getting taken out in a fair fight, or even by another sniper, was one thing, but being hit with gas? That was a cowardly way to eliminate someone. My goal was an area of higher ground where I could get eyes on the target, hopefully without being seen. I left the goat path and bushwhacked my way towards the higher ground. I reached the far side of the dune, crawled towards the top, peeked over the crest, and shit. This really sucked. Flashback, Major M, Mission CNC. This mission was necessary, but it was also the absolute worst mission to send teams on because the chance of survival was in the single digits. I hated sending in my SGTS, but they were my best team, and if anyone could live through this mission, they sure as hell could. That was because they had a really quirky way of adapting and overcoming obstacles that worked like magic for them. And also, Sergeant Blaine seemed to be the luckiest person on the planet. I counted on these facts to get them in and, more importantly, bring them back alive. We'd already lost all the other teams that went in. The SEALs were the last to go, and from the intel we had, they went out in a blaze of glory and destroyed the hell out of a weapons cache after they were discovered. The place would be radioactive for years. I waited at the appointed time for the message from my team. No, this wasn't the old-fashioned radio contact. This was a high-speed burst of uploaded data which contained GPS coordinates and pictures. Then they were sent a very quick update with any fragos, a change to the initial op plan, which happens frequently. I watched the clock. The time passed with no contact, and I feared the worst, but ordered, I want someone here monitoring this 24/7. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. I woke up, checked my watch, and figured out I'd been out of it for a whole damn day. I felt much better, so once again Jack's way was the best way. But I was hungry as hell. I couldn't remember the last time I ate. Plus, these Israeli rations weren't half bad if you could get past the kosher part. Man, what I wouldn't give right now for a nice piece of ham or some bacon. My stomach growled. I decided it wouldn't hurt to heat up the rations just this once, so I pulled out 2 packs and began to heat them. I just got them opened, got ready to take my first bite when Ben came flying into my camp, scared the hell out of me, and yelled, "Jack, what are you doing? I and everyone else for 10 kilometers can smell those damn rations. We need to get the hell out of here right now because I'm sure the RG patrols will be on us like flies on shit." I waved my hand in front of my nose and complained, "You're a great one to talk, you smell like piss." "What the hell happened?" Ben said, "Jack, open your ears and listen. Don't you hear the RG patrols closing in on us now?" I listened, and damn it, he was right. I started to dig a hole. Ben helped, and we threw my meals into a hole. Then we did our best to cover the mess I had made. Damn, I was still out of it, some from the meds I took, and wasn't thinking straight. Thank God Ben came back before the RG patrols showed up. Ben ordered, "Jack, these RG patrols are damn good, so we're going to pull a switcheroo on them. They will think whoever was here would be trying to head away from them, but we're heading toward them. Then we're going to hope they pass us by." So we took off up the ravine toward the scumsuckers, and this time my eyes watered from the smell, but it wasn't from the RG, it was from Ben. He smelled like the south end of a northbound goat. We went about half a click up the ravine, heard the scumsuckers, settled down, and became bushes. The patrol was almost past us, then one of them stopped, came toward me, and I discovered firsthand why Ben smelled as bad as he did. Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. One thing about the RG patrols, they sure weren't worried about making noise. This was to our advantage, but I also knew that could change at any moment. My SA had been running on high for days now, and even with the uppers they gave us, I was tired as hell. The patrol was almost past us as one of them said something. They all stopped, then he came over and watered Jack. Yeah, I guess the goat-herding scumsuckers thought it was their job to piss on the bushes. I fought like hell to keep from laughing. Now Jack would know why I smelled like piss, because he was going to smell the same way. The scumsuckers had been pissing on me for a day because when I topped the ridge, their encampment and the chemical plant was right below me, and unfortunately, I became the convenience station. I got the intel quick enough. Once again, our boys had it right. This was a major chemical weapons plant. I saw and photographed all the equipment needed to work with the scary shit, but these scumsuckers must piss more than anyone I ever knew because it took me a whole day to slip off that ridge. The RG patrol finally left, but I was damn comfortable here, so I decided to stay for a while until Jack whispered, "Ben, let's get the hell out of here before they come back and piss on me again." I fought back a laugh and replied, "Jack, did you remember to do the data dump last night?" He replied, "Shit, no. I was out of it and thought you would do it." Damn it. I forgot to tell him to do the dump, and I knew Jack. He'd sedated the hell out of himself and probably passed out. That was why he was still so out of it today. At least he sort of seemed to be himself again and was moving much better. I decided, "Listen, Jack, I know it's outside protocol, but because we missed the dump last night, I'm going to set up and do it now. I want to make sure if the RG finds us, Major M at least has our latest intel." He answers, "So it was that good." I began to prepare the data dump and answered, "What I saw was scary as hell." Jack said, "Well, if it's that bad, then hurry the hell up. With the incompetence of these scumsuckers, I sure don't want to be here if they accidentally blow the place up." Jack didn't have to remind me of that. The protocol specified we made the data dump, then got the hell out of Dodge just in case the scumsuckers were able to track the signal. I did the dump, and it seemed like it took forever to receive the Frago. It finally came in, I looked at it, and spit. Well, screw me. Flashback, Major M, Mission C&C. We were all in a meeting getting our butts chewed about how we had lost all the teams. It was bad enough losing the teams, but the boneheads didn't even care that the teams represented real living and breathing men. All they cared about was their intel. My aide came in, handed me a note, and I smiled. Now it was time to make these scumsuckers eat some crow. I interrupted. "Excuse me, but I just received an out-of-protocol message from my team. They are still alive and sending back intel. They were unavoidably delayed last night from sending any messages." The new intel was quickly displayed, and I again smiled. The SGTS were kicking butt on this mission and had just made me look really good. I was basking in the knowledge that I'd made the right decision, but then the boneheads got together for a conference, and then they gave me a Frago I couldn't believe. Damn it. I hope like hell this didn't get Sergeant Blaine as pissed at me as he got at Mr. Smith. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. I was glad we stopped. Other than getting pissed on, I wanted to take my knife and cut off the scumsucker's pecker, but it was so small anyway, I figured it wouldn't bother him. But the stop gave me time, after he left, to give myself another good dose of antibiotic. I sure as hell didn't know what miracle antibiotic they included in the medkits, but it sure was kicking the shit out of the dose the bitch gave me. I just finished when Ben said, "Well, screw me." I got nervous and asked, "What the hell is wrong now?" Ben just muttered, "Those scumsuckers." Now I was really worried, and queried, "Well, are you going to tell me, or make me guess?" Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. I couldn't believe it. They had to be crazy, so I seriously broke protocol and requested clarification on the Fragos. I kept muttering under my breath, and Jack kept bugging me, so finally I said, "Jack, shut the hell up. I'm waiting for clarification on our Fragos." After what seemed like forever, the clarification came, and it wasn't a mistake. And totally out of protocol was a private message from Major M, which stated this wasn't his fault, and he'd fought like hell with the brass above him, but he had no choice. I fought back a laugh because I was sure that he did this to cover his butt, because he was worried if we ever got back from this mission I would take care of him like I took care of Mr. Smith. Finally I told Jack, "Well, Jack, you aren't going to believe the Fragos we've received." And I told him of the changes and included the Major's message. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. These Fragos smacked of the brass, pulling them out of their collective butts. What the hell? It was obvious whoever came up with these hadn't been in the field for a very long time, or possibly forever. I laughed at the personal message from the Major since it was obvious he was concerned that Ben was going to go apeshit crazy again and kill his butt. But for some reason other than the initial upset I heard from Ben, he didn't seem that bothered. I was pissed as hell, and I might just go after the scumsuckers myself, because with these orders our chance of surviving this mission. Well, I didn't even want to try to figure that out, because it might jinx any luck we had left. Ben was quiet, too quiet. And when he got quiet it wasn't always a good thing. So I asked, "Ben, what the hell are you thinking?" I sure as hell didn't like how he sounded when he answered, and I liked what he said even less. "Jack, these scumsuckers need to be taught a big lesson." I knew when Ben talked like that heads were going to roll. Flashback, Major M, Mission C&C. I looked at our satellite intel and demanded, "Are we sure of these images?" My tech replied, "Yes, sir, they are accurate." I ordered, "Replay the last 15 minutes again." I watched it again and still couldn't believe my eyes. I just hoped that my SGTS survived what just happened. Present, Jens, C-130 headed to DI. I scream at my loss, "No, please don't." But it's too late, and it's already gone. I sit up and see everyone is gathered around me, so I blush and explain, "Sorry guys, it was just Ben thinking about me, and while I was connected to him, I saw everything." You would think by now people would believe me, but they all leave except for Megan and Maria. Megan condescendingly says, "Jens, you just had a psychotic episode and need to rest." I look at her and Maria and reply, "Megan, psychotic episode my butt. When are you going to believe that I can sometimes connect to Ben?" She throws up her hands in disgust and says, "Maria, I can't talk to her when she gets this way. See if you can talk some sense into her." Megan leaves. Maria comes over and I excitedly say, "Maria, you are such a genius. You were totally right about Ben because I saw it. The skanky hoe tried to get him to bed by coming out of the bathroom in her skanky panties." I laugh and then continue, "And my Ben shot her in the leg with a paintball gun. Then he spent all day shooting her with a paintball gun. I wished I had been there. I would have shot her too." Present, Maria, C-130 landed at DI. I look at my princess boss and feel sorry for her. I mean, I don't know if she really can connect to Ben because when she talks about what she sees, it seems so real. But if it isn't real, then Ben leaving her has permanently screwed up her mind. And when we find him, I'm going to permanently screw up the rest of him. I can't believe all her other friends, maybe they should be called vultures, left her. What a bunch of mercenaries. Yeah, I admit at first I was one too, but I've grown to love my princess boss even if she's as batshit crazy. Then I remember Crazy Cora, my aunt who was supposed to be some sort of Mexican female shaman that supposedly could do the same thing. I wonder if she is still alive? Perhaps. Well, I can speculate on that later, but right now my princess boss needs my support. I sit beside her on the bed and ask, "Jens, do you feel okay?" She gives me that dazzling smile, hugs me, and says, "Hell no, you should know by now I'm not just okay. I'm fantastic." Well, it does seem like my old and stable princess boss is back. The door to the flight deck opens, and one of the crew announces, "Please take your seats and prepare for landing." I help my princess boss to a seat, and she begins to tell me all about her connection to Ben. I have to admit, it sounds so real she has me believing in her. Plus, it is funny as hell, and by the time we land she has me in stitches. If her Ben is really like this, I can certainly understand her love for him. Present, Megan, C-130 landed at DI. I'm upset as hell. Jens and her continued insistence that she can somehow mentally connect to Ben has gone too far. I go back, try to sit by Jim, but when I sit down he says, "Excuse me," and then he moves away. I'm thankful now I never let him into my panties, where no man has gone since my husband. Screw men. Who needs them anyway? What I need to do is concentrate on Jens and how to get her well. If I can fix her, perhaps she will be really grateful and might finally see how much I really love her. The plane lands, and I begin to contrive a plan while I make a few hurried phone calls. Present, Jim and Matt. C-130 landed at DI. Megan tries to sit by Jim and me, but Jim says, "Excuse me." He then leaves. Yeah, his short-time reprieve from ex-wife prison is over. I move back beside him and he asks, "Matt, did you know prostitutes are the most honest women in the world?" I look at him as if he's crazy and answer with a question. "Jim, what the hell do you mean?" He laughs and explains, "Well, with a 3-0 for you know up front exactly what screwing is going to cost you. With a girlfriend or wife they nickel and dime you forever." I have to admit he's right in most cases. And yeah, he's back to hating all women. Present, Tom. C-130 landed at DI. The plane lands and I say, "Well, Byron, we need to check on Hammer and Todd and see when they will be back in action." Byron replies, "I checked on them a bit ago and the doctors said they both need to stay in the hospital for a couple of weeks. I found out Jennifer has already arranged for them to be transferred to Swedish Medical Center and has even arranged for some friends to keep an eye on them." I blink at Byron and wonder how the hell he has the time to do all that he's done lately. Oh well, it's damn nice he's helping to take care of things. I will check in with the guys before they move them and then later at the hospital. So I question, well then what the hell are we going to do with ourselves for 2 weeks? Byron responds, "Maria asked Linus, who asked me if we could do some work for Jennifer on our downtime, and I said it would be fine." I give Byron a critical look and ask, "What sort of work?" Because I'm sure not interested in being around that female Panther Sigmund fraud psych friend of hers. Byron grimaces, "I wonder what he knows that I don't know," and answers, "Tom, neither do I." She sours my stomach. This piques my curiosity, because I've never seen Byron act this way toward anyone. Yeah, I need to find out what he knows about that female Panther. But that will have to wait until later. I say, "Well, let's go check on the guys." We head up and find James taking care of the guys. I ask, "How are they doing?" Hammer says, "Och, I've been bath better and war." "Oh, I've been both better and worse." I forgot how damn hard it is to understand him, so it takes a moment before I figure it out. Todd signs, "I'm not bad, but need a while longer to heal." I smile reassuringly and tease, "You two slackers are getting a couple weeks off, but I want you to know I'll be keeping an eye on both of you, and I'd better not hear that you're chasing the skirts too much, or I'll talk to the doctors and see if they can arrange a procto for the offender." Hammer laughs, which causes him to cough, and Todd signs laughter. Jim cusses me. "Damn, Tom, stop making Hammer laugh. It's not good for him." Present, Byron. C-130 landed at DI. I marvel at how good Tom is at handling the guys, well, most of the guys. The only one he has real problems with is Linus because he's as much an alpha male as Tom. But somehow the two of them have developed a working relationship, which is a good thing because guys like Linus and Hammer are going to be the future of the SIFs, and to be truthful, I would like to take a little break. I'm beginning to feel my age. That's the reason I took Jennifer's assignment. I figured it would be better than its SIF's mission for right now, especially since I only have the one good wing. I compliment Tom. "Tom, you would have made a hell of an officer." He gets all upset and challenges me. "Byron, what the hell is going on with you? That's the most hateful thing you've ever said to me. You know how I feel about officers." I realize my mistake and try to rectify it. "Hey, I was just trying to tell you what a good leader you've become." Tom counters, "Well, next time I want your opinion, I will ask you for it." I should kick your butt for even mentioning my name and officer in the same sentence. I grin at him and lie. "Tom, we've been down this road before, and you know I can kick your, but even with this broken arm." He laughs and replies, "You're right. The only way that would happen is if you didn't fight fair." He looks out one of the few windows and says, "Hey, something's going on outside." I look out the window and ask, "Tom, do you think we and the SIFs have been caught?" He replies, "I sure as hell hope not." Present, Jim and Matt. C-130 landed at DI. I say, "Hey, Matt, it looks like we have a welcoming committee." Matt leans over, looks out the window and replies, "Now just what the hell do they want?" I question, "You don't suppose they're after us for taking out those choppers in DC, do you?" Because the last thing I want is to spend some time behind bars. I would either go out in a blaze of glory or cap myself before I let that happen. Present, Linus. C-130 landed at DI. I notice a welcoming committee outside the C-130, head up to Jens and Maria, and say, "Hey, you two, you'd better take a look out the window." They both do, and Maria says, "Shit. Look at all the fuzz. I wonder what they're doing here." Jens adds, "I bet they're pissed off because of the way we left DC." I laugh. Yeah, almost destroying an airport is usually frowned upon. Jens states, "Well, I'd better go talk with them to see if I can smooth things over. I look outside again and wonder if that's such a wise idea. Present, Maria, C-130 landed at DI. My princess boss seems normal again, so I really don't worry as she heads off the C-130 to talk to the fuzz. Better her than me, because I would just end up kicking their butts. We watch from the window, and things look like they are going fine. Then Megan shows up, and the police grab my princess boss. I head to the exit, try to get off the plane, but it looks like everyone else has the same idea because it's a huge traffic jam. Finally, we all boil out of the C-130 just as the police car drives off with my princess boss and Megan in it. Megan blows me a kiss and I swear, I'm going to kick her butt again. Linus comes up and asks, what the hell just happened? Masha offers an explanation. I would speculate that Megan has arranged to take Ms. Donaldson somewhere for psychological treatment. I curse. How the hell could she do that? Byron replies, she probably talked a judge into issuing a 72-hour hold on her for observation. Tom shouts, I hate that Sigmund fraud bitch. I notice some military-looking vehicles heading our way and I warn, well guys, I hate to tell you this, but we might also have some issues. And I point out the vehicles. Linus questions, orders Tom. I watch as Tom is keenly observing the vehicles and wonder what he will say. They're getting closer, and he keeps watching them. Jim says, screw this shit. They aren't taking me alive. I'm getting my weapons. Tom turns to him and orders, like hell you are. Stand down, soldier. Byron, lay your rifle on the ground and step away from it. Byron complies. The vehicles encircle the C-130, and I get a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach. But Linus hugs me, which makes me feel better. The door opens on one of the vehicles, and present Yasmin and Zarika, a different C-130 to DI. Yasmin. The Liz lady was very rude and changed the channel on my TV without asking. I complained, but she didn't understand me. I'll make sure my husband, Ben, teaches her a lesson when we see him again. After she leaves, I switch it back to my music video and practice my English by singing along. Why are you coming home so late in the morning? Something seems off, can you explain? Don't treat me like a fool, that's not right. What you need to do is be honest with me. Zarika, Yasmin's singing is worse than ever. Plus she has no idea what she is singing about. I have been diligently studying English, and I know what she is saying is rude and vulgar. The minute she uses that sort of language with my husband Ben, he will banish her. I secretly smile and lie. Yasmin, you are getting better all the time. She rushes over and asks, Zarika, do you really think so? I continue the encouragement. Yes, Yasmin, if you practice enough, I bet you could even be a famous rapper yourself. Motivated by my words, she runs back to the TV and keeps singing. I chuckle at the lyrics, which are bold and over the top. The noise on the plane changes, and I realize it's landing. Excitement builds inside me because soon I will be back with my husband, Ben. I've been secretly practicing a phrase in English, and now I'll finally get to say it to him. After we land, Yasmin finally realizes what's happening. When the airplane jolts, she screams, thinking we are crashing again. I can't help but laugh to myself. She rushes over to me and asks, Zarika, do you think we will meet Ben now? I smile and say, I certainly hope so. Are you going to use some of your new English words with him? She giggles and says yes. I think I will tell him something I learned from the songs I listened to. Men seem to like it. I smile and encourage her. I think Ben would enjoy hearing what you've learned. I soon realized the landing wasn't to meet Ben, but rather for the one nice yet mean lady. You never know which she'll be next, to have something taken care of. She comes back onto the airplane carrying a big metal tube like it's a baby, and I ask Yasmin as the airplane takes off again, what do you think is in that container? Yasmin says, well, whatever it is, it must be more important than the gold belonging to our husband which you lost. I get upset. I lost the gold? What are you talking about? It was your fault the airplane crashed. Yasmin uses some of the new words she learned when she continues. Present Liz, a different C-130 to DI. The C-130 takes off again, and I hear one of the girls yell, screw you. Now, when and how did they learn that phrase? Then there's a hell of a fight between the two of them. They are both swearing like, well, I don't know quite what because it's so damn funny. I remember the last time I tried to stop one of their fights and decide this time I'm not going to get in the middle. Ben and especially Jens would be much better without the two of them because they are selfish, conniving, bitchy little girls. If we're lucky, they will kill each other soon. Then Bernie asks, don't you think we should do something? I reply, hell no. I'm not getting between those two again. He foolishly says, well, I sure can't let this continue. He starts to get up, and I say, it looks like you're too late. Present Zarika and Yasmin, a different C-130 to DI. Zarika, I can't believe the awful words Yasmin shouted, so I decide to put her in her place. I slap her and throw back some of the insults I've heard from her favorite shows. You loudmouth, go make me a sandwich. She punches me and yells, yo mama. She forgot again and insulted my mother. Now I have to get serious. I grab her hair, start pulling, and shout, "Take that back, big mouth." She grabs my hair, pulls just as hard, and taunts, "No way, bug face." I am surprised because she fights much better than she used to. She is using methods which Ben didn't teach her. Then I understand why. She has been spending some time with the soldiers on the plane, and they must have trained her. So I decide to get really rough with her, knock her on the ground, jump on top of her, and get ready to slam her head into the bottom of the airplane when two soldiers grab me and pull me off her. Then Yasmin lies. Yasmin. Zarika does not know it, but I have made good friends with the soldiers on this airplane, and they have taught me many new things. They even laugh at the English words I use. So I use those tricks on Zarika and do well until she knocks me down and tries to kill me. My soldier friends rush up, pull her off me, and I yell, "That hoe tried to kill me." They help me up, and one of them says, "That does it, restrain her." I smile as they take Zarika away because now she's in big trouble and she's crying like a baby. I decide I need to go and thank the soldiers that helped me. Besides, I like them. They tell me how beautiful I am and touch me all the time. And I might be able to finally use the soldiers to teach Zarika her place. Present Mira, different C, 130 to DI. Those two female children are disputing again. I observe with interest when I comprehend Yasmin has acquired some new techniques and for a brief period of time fends off Zarika. But she foolishly agitates Zarika to an extreme extent, gets knocked to the ground, and Zarika is going to seriously damage her. I arise and prepare to terminate the situation when the soldiers come to Yasmin's aid. Most curious. This requires some further observation, so I request, "Alexei, please mind my package while I attend to a developing engagement." He responds, "I will comply with your request, my sister Mira. I do hope you will apply severe force to the derrieres of both those obscene female miscreants." I smile because he is so astute. I proceed toward the fore end of the aircraft, and what I perceive angers me to a severe degree. A degree which I have not experienced for many years. Assuredly not since I was rudely removed from the American spy school in my Lance Corporal Blaine. I proceed post-haste to take serious remedial action. Present Liz different C, 130 to DI. What the hell is going on? I hear Myra's battle cry, and the next thing I know there are bodies of soldiers flying everywhere. I yell to Bernie, "Something's gone wrong, and we need to help Mira." We are both out of our seats in a flash and run toward the front of the C, 130, but by the time we arrive, it's already too late. All the soldiers have been beat to shit. I look and see Mira is taking down the partially nude body of Zarika from some restraints. Her back is a mass of welts. It looks like she's been whipped. I run up and ask what happened. Mira calmly explains, yet I can detect the fire in her eyes. Yasmin misled the soldiers into stripping and restraining Zarika. Then she commenced to flail her with a device made of wire. I gasp and question the circumstances, and Zarika didn't scream out in pain. Mira gives me a cold look and answers, "No, Ms. Morgan." When one has been tortured like Zarika has experienced in the past, one learns not to cry out because it just excites those that torture them. I can tell there is first-hand experience in her statement and hope to someday find out more when I hear crying. I look over and see Yasmin holding her arm and again ask, "What's wrong with Yasmin?" Mira blushes and explains, "Unfortunately, I allowed my anger to overcome my deliberative senses, and I am quite sure I precipitated a broken arm. However, I will not render aid to her after her reprehensible actions. If you would like to assist her, it is now your duty." What the hell? Mira won't help Yasmin. I look at Bernie. He looks back at me, and I declare, "Shit, Bernie, I guess we need to take care of Yasmin." We head to Yasmin. I smile at her and try to comfort her. "We're here to help you." She responds with, "Thank you, skanky hoe." I begin to look closely at her and decide if I ever have children, I'm never going to let them watch music videos. As I move her arm, she winces and cries. "That hurts like a scumsucker's." Not much swelling, tender to the touch. I'm pretty sure she has a fracture. I ask, "Bernie, go and get me a couple magazines and see if you can find some tape." He takes off as I look at Yasmin and scold her. "That was a terrible thing you did to Zarika." She spouts, "Shut yo mouth, bitch, and make me a sandwich." When I draw back my hand to slap her, she cringes and begins to cry. I stop and decide there's already been enough violence on this flight. So I try to explain to her, "Yasmin, the words you learned from the music video are rude and vulgar." At least I think she understands some of what I said because she looks like she's in deep thought. The sound of the engines change, my ears pop, and I know we're landing. What the hell is going on now? Present Yasmin, different C, 130 to DI. I was giving Zarika the whipping she deserved. After all, I am Ben's first wife, so it is my responsibility to train her. The soldiers helped me and even encouraged me, so it wasn't totally my fault. When the mean lady saw what I was doing, she attacked me and hurt my arm very badly. The soldiers tried to stop her, so she hurt them even worse, and now she is taking care of Zarika, who just has the wealth she deserves. while I am left by myself. The nice Liz lady comes and helps me, so I use my new English to tell her I am thankful. She doesn't seem to like what I say, and I don't understand. Then she acts like she's going to hit me, stops, and tells me the words I am using are bad words. I think about this, and then I get angry again. Zarika has been tricking me and wanted me to use bad words in front of my husband Ben. If I get the chance, I will whip her even harder for this bad trick. I smile at the Liz lady, try to come up with better words and say, "Thank you for watching our program." She gives me a funny look, then smiles and says, "Present Liz different C, 130 to DI. Okay, I've really changed my mind. If I ever have children, even though I work on TV, they will never watch TV." Yasmin tries to thank me, and it's all I can do to keep from laughing. I say, "Yasmin, those are better words, but a simple thank you would have been perfect." She grins at me and repeats, "Thank you, Liz lady." Bernie arrives with the magazines and some tape. I look at Yasmin and explain, "This is going to hurt, but I need to do this so your arm doesn't get more damaged." I straighten her arm. She screams, "That's a cherry popper." Then she passes out. I wrap the magazines around her arm as a splint, tape the hell out of them, take a piece of cloth to fashion a sling, and ask, "Bernie, can you carry her back to the seats for me?" We head back to the seats, and I decide if I ever have children, I won't even have a TV in the house. I look back and see Mira has taken care of Zarika, and they are jabbering like long-lost friends. If I hadn't seen what I'd seen with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe anything had happened to Zarika. My ears continue to pop, and I wonder why we're landing this time, because we can't be at DI yet. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. I have a terrible dream. I don't even want to repeat it, and wake up screaming. Ben is right beside me, holds me so gently, and comforts me. "Stacy, it will be fine. It was just a bad dream." I reach down, touch all the pads, and instantly realize, no, it wasn't just a bad dream, that's why the pads are here. It really happened, and it's a fracking nightmare. I look at Ben and declare, "Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker." While Stacy's amnesia must have left because she wakes up screaming. I jump off Bo, run back, sit beside her, hold her, and try to convince her it was just a bad dream. She pulls away, looks at me, and declares, "Ben, like hell it was. That fat scumsucker sedated me and assaulted me. He's not going to get away with that. I want to go find him and kill him." Then she begins to cry. I hug her and tell her, "Stacy, if we did that right now, it would be the biggest mistake we would ever make. Believe me that I want to kill him almost as badly as you do. But you need to heal first, because right now you're too badly injured to even ride a horse." She pulls back and agrees. "You're probably right. But I want your promise that as soon as we can, we're going after the scumsucker." "I promise, Stacy. When you've healed enough to ride, we will head out and look for Guy. I don't let people survive who hurt my friends. Now we need to get you back to the bunker where we can clean you up better. Are you going to be okay riding on the travois by yourself?" She sniffles and answers, "I would feel better if I had a gun." I explain to her, "Well, the scumsucker took all your guns, so I can either let you use one of my revolvers or the Winchester Centennial 66. She says, "I don't like revolvers, but I do like your shiny rifle." I jump up and grab it out of the scabbard. Then I sit beside her and demonstrate how it works. She surprises me when she kisses me on the cheek as I get ready to leave and says, "Ben, thank you again for rescuing me. Because if you had left me with that scumsucker, I think you would have killed me." I mount up, look back at her, and curse myself again for not killing the scumsucker when I had the chance. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. I swear at myself because my plan to use Guy to get Ben jealous seriously backfired on me. How could I be so stupid? He seemed so nice and charming, but ended up being the worst kind of terrible monster. I close my eyes, but all I can see is the scumsucker and what he did to me. Somehow at first he even made me think it felt good, but then he turned into a sadist, and all he wanted to do was hurt me. I make a decision and yell, "Ben, please stop." He stops, jumps off Bo, is right back by me and asks, "Stacy, what's wrong?" I give him a determined look and say, "Ben, I want to ride back to the bunker." He argues, "Listen, Stacy, you're not thinking straight. If you ride, it will hurt like hell and cause you to bleed more." I glare at him and answer, "I don't give a frack. Sooner or later, I'm going to have to face the pain of riding, and the sooner I get it over with, the sooner we can hunt that scumsucker down and kill him." Ben continues, "Stacy, you're not being sensible. There's no way in hell I'm letting you ride." I answer, "Fine, then I will walk." So I get off the travois, begin to walk, and the gentle, considerate Ben walks beside me. Yeah, it hurts like hell, but I'm not ever going to let the scumsucker win, and I'm sure not letting him off the hook. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. SA and SLLS training. I walk beside Stacy, study her actions, and realize her SA is higher than I've ever seen before. She's carrying my Winchester in high ready position on her hip, and her head is moving like crazy. While I'm proud of her, I'm also concerned, so I say, "Stacy, You need to back down a little because you're worked up right now. She answers, Ben, I was a fool and let that scumsucker trick me. That's never going to happen again. Next time someone like Guy shows up, I'm going to shoot them. Yeah, I'm going to need to work on her attitude some, because while Guy needed to be shot, not everyone else will. I decide I need to distract her a little, so I again start the training. Stacy, while you're great at seeing things, you are weak at using your other senses. She answers, like hell I am. I can hear much better than you, and I can sure smell that you need another shower because you smell like the horses again. I counter, yes, but at least my smell is a natural smell, not like the perfume and deodorant you wear. Those smells give you away when you're on a mission and need to be avoided. But the worst action is when you decide to cook, because the smell of food travels for miles. And yes, your hearing is better than mine, but you still miss things. For instance, did you hear the squirrels in the trees to the right of us? We stop walking, Stacy looks to the right, and I direct her actions. Stacy, stop looking. Now close your eyes and listen to the normal sounds around us. She replies, okay, I'm doing that, now what? I tell her, once you've memorized the normal sounds, listen for sounds that fall outside of those. I watch her face, then there's an ever so slight smile, and she says, yes, I can hear the squirrels now. Can I open my eyes? I whisper, not yet. Keep your head on a swivel, and it will help you identify the exact location of the squirrels. Once you identify the exact location, bring up the rifle and aim it where you think the squirrels are making noise. She complies as I watch her bring up the rifle, and she complains, frack. The squirrels ran off. I laugh and explain, yeah, you moved the rifle too fast, and the squirrels saw the movement. So which way did they move? She aims the rifle and does a damn good job, so I say, very good, you were really close, now keep your eyes closed. I head to my saddlebags and Stacy says, hey, where are you going? I reply, good job of listening, but keep your eyes closed. I pull out a little bottle, silently open it, and wait. Stacy wrinkles up her nose and says, well, something smells really bad. I question, what else happened? She answers, well, something has the horses a little upset, probably that bad smell. I reply, very good. The smell is red fox urine and smells so bad it will mask almost any other smell. Stacy adds, so the horses thought it was a threat, that's why they're upset. Ben says, right again. You're on a roll. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. SA and SLLS training. I suddenly realize I've had my eyes closed this whole time and haven't thought about or visualized the fat scumsucker. Ben's doing an excellent job of distracting me. But frack, now the distraction is gone because I figured it out. I open my eyes, look at Ben, touch his arm and say, thanks for helping to get my mind off what happened. He smiles and lies. He's a terrible liar. I have no idea what you're talking about. I was just using this time for training. Now hop back on the travois so we can get back to the bunker. I remind him, Ben, I told you I'm not riding in the travois. I'm going to walk. Now let's get moving. Ben answers, one more thing. Remember how you memorize the normal sounds? That's something you have to continually do, but you need to be careful that you don't count a significant sound as a natural sound. I question, and how am I supposed to do that? He grins and says, just like everything I've taught you, you need to practice it all the time. Now are you sure you don't want to ride on the travois? I give him a dirty look and answer, since when did you become a nag? No, I don't want to ride on the travois. Let's get going. We take off, leading the horses behind us. Each step hurts, so I fight to ignore the pain. Ben whispers, Stacy, when a person is in pain, there's always a danger they will concentrate so much on the pain that they lose their SA. I answer, I thought you just told me my SA was too high. Now it's not high enough? Make up your mind. I hear a buzz, and simultaneously Ben draws a revolver and fires while the horses damn near yank my arm out of the socket as they bolt and take off running. I ask, Ben, what the hell was that? He smiles and says, that Stacy is going to be our dinner. You're in for a real treat because I'm going to make my famous rattlesnake chili. I'm scared as hell. I hate snakes. And about barf as I answer, no way am I eating a nasty rattlesnake. Ben grins and asks, I thought you were a world traveler. Don't tell me you've never eaten snake? I shake my head. No, I've never had to eat such a creature. Don't you think we should focus on getting the horses? Ben smirks and challenges, tell you what, if I can get the horses back here in under a minute, you have to at least try my rattlesnake chili. Knowing how fast the horses bolted, I'm sure they're miles away, so I agree. You're on. But if you lose, you have to finish cleaning out the stables by yourself. Without hesitation, Ben grins. It's a bet. Then he whistles, and to my surprise, Bo comes trotting back, with Patches and Knacker's reins in his mouth. They walk right up beside us, and I burst into laughter, barely believing what I'm seeing. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker, SA and SLLS training. I can't believe it. Bo comes running up with Patches and Knacker, then the three of them proceed to stomp the hell out of the meat for our dinner. I start swatting at the horses with my hat, and yell, You hey burners, cut that out. You're ruining dinner. Then I hear giggling. Look over and see Stacy laughing like a little kid and holding her stomach. It was worth losing the meat for dinner just to hear her laugh again. I finally get the horses to stop, but the snake is ruined. Stacy grins and says, well, I guess now I won't have to eat any rattlesnake chili. I remind her, no, but you still have to clean out the stables. I go to say more when the hairs stand up on the back of my neck. I've been SLLSing, but this cranks my SA up to full. Stacy notices and immediately asks, Ben, what is it? I reply, I don't know, but I'd swear we are being watched or stalked. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker, SA and SLLS training. It was funny watching Ben with the horses, and at least I won't have to eat any of the vile chili he was going to make. I was just beginning to feel better when Ben says, I don't know, but I'd swear we are being watched or stalked. So I begin to SLLS like crazy, but I don't see, hear, or smell anything unusual. I secretly hope the scumsucker came back, because I'd love to get my hands on him and make him pay for everything he did to me. Ben finally says, well, I sure as hell don't see anything. I add, I don't hear or smell anything. Ben says, well, if someone is watching us, we'd be safer in the bunker. Now I know you're not going to like this, but we can move much faster if you're on the travois. Yes, it does make sense. Besides, I was just getting more sore by walking. So I agree, Ben, I think you're right. I climb back on the travois, and we take off at a trot. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker, SA and SLLS training. I can't shake the feeling that we're being watched or stalked. It doesn't help that the hair on the back of my neck is still standing up. But I've done my best to see who it is, and if we are being watched or stalked, then they have to be damn good. At least I'm sure it's not the fat dopehead guy, because he was never this good. I've felt this way before, and I've never been wrong. What bothers me most is it doesn't go away while we're moving. So whoever it is, they have to be following us. I SLLS like hell, and even flip around in the saddle, but don't see anyone. I think back and remember one time this happened. It was a very long time ago on the first mission for Major M. OHSHIT. I yank the .300 Win mag out of the scabbard, jump off bow, and keep him moving because moving targets are harder to hit. I pull out my go pack, make sure I have all the normal supplies including ammo. Then I grab a roll off the back of Bo and tell Bo, make sure you get Stacy and the other horses back to the bunker. And whatever you do, don't stop for anyone or anything. He nickers and nods his head, then noses me. I say, yeah, I'll be careful, but you be careful too. I head toward Stacy. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker, SA and SLLS training. I hear Ben running toward me, and I'm surprised since we're still moving. He gets close and seems to be using patches to hide behind. I question him. Ben, what the hell is going on? He explains, Stacy, I'm sure we're being stalked. Don't worry, because it's not Guy. Whoever it is so damn good I can't see them. I'm going to leave you with Bo and the horses and do some recon work because it might be a sniper. I'm not worried about you, because if it is a sniper, then they are after me. I watch as he's getting into his camouflage suit and ask, do you think I will be safe? Ben answers, I told Bo to get you to the bunker. He hands me his keys and says, here are the keys to get in. I would go in through the stable just in case Guy used your keys to access the bunker. If he's in there, Bo will kill him. I state, not if I get to him first. Will I see you before we get to the bunker? Ben answers, possibly, but don't count on it. If you see anyone or anything, shoot first and ask questions later. I know you don't like revolvers, but since you're better with a handgun, here's one of the revolvers and a box of ammo. And here's a box of ammo for the rifle. I question, what's the challenge response in case you come back? He thinks for a moment and says, mine is walking and yours is dead. He's in his camouflage suit and says, just so you know, I'm not totally leaving you. I will do my best to shadow you and the horses. But I'm going to be close to 2 kilometers back, so remember, if you see anything, shoot first, and I will come running. Then I'm amazed as he disappears into the brush beside the trail, and I can't even see him. But I sure don't like being alone. We continue to move, and I SLLS like crazy. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker, counter sniper. Damn it all. This is not what we needed right now. When you've done the work that I've done in the past, you make many enemies. Enemies who like to issue fatwas and put prices on your head. And when that price gets high enough, even the mercenaries become interested. But with the war still going on down here, there's no telling who it might be that's after me. But whoever it is, they're not an amateur, and when 2 snipers square off against each other, it's serious business. They won't be fooled by me leaving the horses and Stacy, since they will guess exactly what I am doing. I wish like hell Stacy wasn't thrown into this, because then it would be much easier. I could find the right defensible location and wait for the sniper to come to me. But there's always a chance the sniper might wound Stacy in hopes of bringing me out into the open to rescue her. So I have to shadow Stacy and the horses and also try to find the scumsucker. I move calmly and carefully up the hill to find a better location and hope I can see this scumsucker before he sees me. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker, SA and SLLS training. I'm SLLSing like crazy. I sure don't like it that Ben left me, and I feel very exposed. Nothing happens for about an hour, so I get a little sleepy. Then the horses make a ruckus. I turn around, look forward, and I can't believe what I see run across the road. Perhaps I was asleep and dream what I just saw? If not, what the hell is one of those doing in Texas? Well, it wasn't a dream because it spooked the hell out of the horses and they take off running, and I'm holding on to the travois for dear life. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.